Take their seat, please. We will begin. Good evening. Welcome to the December 11th, 2025 Barnstable Town Council meeting. The meeting is being conducted both in person and via remote participation for two councilors tonight. We have Councilor Starr and Councilor Penn are both on remote. My correct papers here. In accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, I must inquire whether anyone is recording this meeting, and if so, to please make your presence known. Seeing no one, this meeting is being recorded by the town and televised live via Xfinity Channel 8, Channel 1070, and High Definition Channel 1072. It may also be accessed via the Government Access Channel live stream feed on the town website, the My Barnstable app, and the dedicated Barnstable streaming app. Madam Clerk, we do a roll call, please?
Councilors Bloom,
Here.
Burdick, Clark,
Here.
Crocker,
Here.
Crow,
Here.
Deleuze,
Here.
Keene,
Present.
Levesque,
Here.
Ludke,
Here.
Penn,
Here.
Scheingold,
Here.
Starr,
Here.
Tamish.
Here.
We have 12.
Thank you. Councilor Lutke, would you like to introduce our veteran? Do we have a veteran tonight?
Absolutely. Thank you, President Tamish. This evening we have Paul O'Connell with us. And like we used to do, or we like to do, we have a few photos from his history. As you can tell by this, he was probably in the Navy, which he was. And here's a couple of his ships. The black and white one of the ships is the Little Rock, and the other one is the Albany. The Albany is the one that's slightly shorter than the Little Rock. And that's a photo from Gaeta, Italy. That was the flagship ship for the Sixth Fleet. And Paul was on there with the Admiral of the Sixth Fleet. And that he spent at least a couple years on there. And we'll hear about that in his biography. And then the other picture of the ship at sea, very majestic, that is the Wainwright. And take a look at where the bridge is on that ship, because we're going to hear in his biography that he got into a situation where some waves were coming over that bridge. It's very high. So he's seen some rough seas in his Navy days. So let's hear about Paul O'Connell. Petty Officer Paul O'Connell entered boot camp in April of 1973. It was the first time he had ever been on an airplane and the first time ever out of Massachusetts. He really didn't know what to expect, but finished boot camp in July. It was tough, and a lot of his peers did not make it through. When Paul emerged after 10 weeks of training, he had more respect than he did when he went in. He was proud to put that uniform on and be a sailor of the United States Navy. His first year was spent in the Philadelphia shipyard on the USS Albany, completing a major overhaul. Paul was what they called a deck ape, as the majority of his work was done on deck or hanging from a rope chair painting somewhere. Paul did a lot of painting. After the USS Albany was ready to go, Paul went to sea as a boatswain's mate. Boatswain's mates are the backbone of the U.S. Navy. At sea, he took care of anchoring, replenishing supplies while underway, refueling when underway, and as always, painting. These were the jobs that the boatswain's mates did. When the ship was in ports where it could not tie up, boatswain mates took people going on liberty back and forth by boat. Fun, asked Paul? Not. Paul made petty officer, which is an enlisted E4 rank, in 2.5 years. He, with 3 to 4 other petty officers, were then put in charge of 100 sailors known as the deck crew. Halfway through his 3 years on the USS Albany, he was promoted to the Admiral's boat crew, as the Admiral of the Sixth Fleet was on his ship for 6 months. The Sixth Fleet is responsible for operations in Europe and Africa, and the USS Albany served as a flagship for the fleet. At the end of his 3 years on the Albany, he re-enlisted for another 4 years. In 1976, Paul began 2 years of shore duty with a river squadron. During this time, he supported underwater demolition team and SEAL team missions, as well as rescue missions for downed pilots, in addition to other river warfare activities. Paul was promoted to boatswain's mate, second class, while in the riverboat squadron. When you make rank in a riverboat squadron, the 2 most senior petty officers throw you in a river as initiation. Fun, asked Paul? Again, not. Leaving the riverboats behind, Paul came aboard the USS Wainwright for 2 years. His duties were similar to those aboard the Albany, with one exception. He recalls coming back from a 1-month cruise with a skeleton crew on board. They were told to head back out to sea as a hurricane suddenly changed course and was headed for South Carolina. Paul recalls waves coming up and over the bridge of the boat, at least 20-foot waves. He describes it as no picnic out there. Paul did get to go through the Panama Canal, and that was awesome. He was also on a Mediterranean cruise when his now 7-year enlistment in the Navy came to an end. The Navy saw fit to send him back home, not by sea, but by air. He crossed the Atlantic Ocean in a C-130 turboprop cargo plane. The trip took 12 hours. His seat was right next to the head. Paul said that was no fun at all. Petty Officer O'Connell says that's his story and he's sticking to it. And he wouldn't have changed a thing. Let's welcome U.S. Navy Petty Officer Paul O'Connell to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you could remain standing, please, for a moment of silence for all that have served our country. Thank you, and thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Okay, at this point, I would like to open public comment. Please make sure you sign in with your name and village for public comment. Public comment is 3 minutes. Please keep your comments brief and to the point. Written comments are always welcome at council@town.barnstable.ma.us and will be distributed to the entire council. If you choose to email an individual counselor, it may not necessarily be distributed to all counselors. I wish to remind everyone that no member of the public may speak without first being recognized by the presiding officer. The public will have an opportunity to speak during the public comment portion of the meeting and during any public hearing on an agenda item. You're free to express your thoughts, opinions, and criticisms during public comment. However, your comments should be directed to the council as a body through the presiding officer. You should not speak directly to any individual counselor. You also should not be addressing your comments to anyone else in this room, not to town staff and not to another member of the audience. Public comment is to be directed to the council. I just want to make people aware the email address council@town.barnstable.ma.us is still in use as of right now, but all email addresses in the town are being changed. All the counselors' email addresses have changed already. So, for example, mine is now craig.tamish@barnstable.gov. A little bit easier to remember. I was just starting to remember the other one, and they're changing it on me. But eventually the Council One and all the emails in town will change to that. So, anyone for public comment?
Good evening to everybody. Merry Christmas to you and your family.
Thank you.
I'm coming here with one thing in mind, is trying to bring another side of a proposition I have for you to think about. We've recently had zone changes in this community. We've gone radically from 2 stories to 4 stories. And in my opinion, they didn't really specify where those 4 stories would fit into the overall theme of our villages. I think I've seen enough going on down at 203 Main Street to realize that it really doesn't fit in what I think the downtown area of Hyannis should be in now or in the future. And I'm hoping now to leave you with a Christmas wish that before we get really too much deeper into changing the face, character, and ambience of our village, we remember that a lot of what we have in the past historically is to have a community based on simple historical values. We don't want to turn main streets of any of our villages into city structures. At one time, the projects in Boston, where I grew up, were the next thing great for the community. And now you can see that they've really kind of got into a situation where they're the crime centers of our cities. I think separating lodgings, I think separating them to specific places rather than dumping them on a main street, and that's what I call it, and I don't mean to be rude to anyone, but I'm saying just viewing down the street, it looks like they took some boxcars and stacked them on each other and put a few windows into our village. I'm not happy with it. But before we go any further, I just hope you use common sense, that there's indicators here that you're not going to like in the future when you see them built. They do not fit in our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
How you doing, folks? Eric Schwab, Hyannis. I'm going to follow up on what Headley had to say. We've seen enough. We've seen enough of the form-based code. We know what it's bringing us, and we want to bring it to a vote. We asked for a DCPC 10 weeks ago. You said we had to wait till the election. Election's over. Okay? We want to see where you stand. We want to see a vote. We'll take the risk. If we lose, we lose. But we want to see where you stand. We want to stop this foolishness. We want a review of the boundaries of the GIZ. We want the wetlands out of the industrial areas that you're building. And we want a very, very careful look at Main Street and how you're building. The planning department has done an absolute nothing with the results of the ad hoc committee. They've stalled. They've intentionally stalled those recommendations. And those are only the first 4. There were 20 in total. Okay, so we would like very much to get a DCPC vote, and we would like the Cape Cod Commission to sort through the recommendations of the ad hoc committee on zoning, because clearly, you're not doing it, and the planning department's not doing it. The town is clearly incapable of assessing the mess they made, And we want the help. That's what the DCPC is for. It's to bring in professional help to evaluate the situation and make recommendations on how to fix the mess we're in. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Kristen Torkelson, Precinct 2. I feel like I can't let go of this place. So here I am again. I told my husband I go out to dinner every Thursday night when a town council meeting happens. I'm thinking maybe sometime in January I'll be able to accomplish that. I want to thank and congratulate leadership for your success. I do want to thank the town manager for keeping the speeding on the front burner. I think we're making it overly complicated. We have 80 towns that have already decided to do this. The state's made it easy. You're taking a limit of 30 to 25. We don't need to go and spend more time in a working group. We've had a year of people working. If you want to know what we think, call us in. We're here to share the information. We're still going to be working. We're still going to call every one of those 80 towns and tell you what they said. But some of them literally made the decision in 90 days. Residents came forward. Town body of politics said this is important, and they made the change. So we encourage you to not make this more complicated. I'm not sure what a small working group that doesn't involve any residential input. I'm not sure why the planning board is involved in that. I mean, I guess I see maybe legal being involved in BPD and DPW, but I think it's just misplaced use of resources. Again, as I said last week, please do not make this more complicated. Since when does the state make anything easier? They've actually made this easier. This is your chance to do something. We had a 3-year-old killed the other day. We had a bike accident. We had another guy over a guardrail. People drive too fast. The question for you, as the body who helps run this town, do you care about safety? We're asking you to take your vote and make actionable change for safety. So please, don't memory hole this. Don't give this away. This is your control to say to residents you care about their safety. That's what we're asking you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment? Lynn, anyone online?
First up, we have Sandy Fitzgerald. Sandy, you have 3 minutes. You may unmute.
Thank you. Town Council Sandy Jones, Centerville. On the night of the speed reduction meetings, attendees filled the room not once but twice. The first meeting in October of 2024 at Fire, and then again 11 months later at the Town Council, petitioning for a 25 speed limit in thickly settled areas. After 13 months, the issue remains unresolved, and it appears that we are kicking the can down the road once again. Pursuant to Massachusetts general laws, cities and towns have the discretion to lower the statutory speed limit from 30 to 25, granting you, the Town Council, the authority to enact this change. I am grateful for the town manager L's efforts in setting up a focused working group with the DPW, Barnstable Police, and the Planning Department. Although I appreciate the need for further discussion, I think the town's process is unnecessarily complicated. Since the state has already outlined the laws and procedures, the process should be relatively simple. The Town Council has the power to make the changes without requiring extensive studies and data collecting. The question is simple: do we support public safety or not? I have been personally contacting cities and towns on the North and South Shores, and many were able to adopt the law under 90 days without engineering involvement. The committees were comprised of fire chiefs, police traffic division representatives, highway department officials, and multiple citizens sat on this committee. The Town Council and Select Board endorsed the change. In multiple towns, the town manager and the administrator actually spearheaded the committee and organized this. The town of Westford, for instance, has various business districts like Route 110, but also has several villages, and they selectively adopted the reduced speed statute. Not all business districts and densely populated areas were involved. The residents' preference is clear. Simplify the decision and support the community. The exclusion of residents in the fire department from this focus working group is a mishap. Replacing the planning board with the fire department and a neighborhood group would be a much better approach. Given the extensive work and the data collection from Kristen Turkelson's group, I believe they deserve a seat at the table. And just on a personal note, I understand my father was a police officer for 35 years. He was a detective. I feel like community relationships between the police, it fluctuates. Sometimes they love you, other times they don't. But I believe that if enforcement is enacted, that the citizens that support the reduction would outweigh the ones that would be irritated because they were pulled over for speeding. And again,
Sandy,
I worked for the
your 3
police
minutes are
chief.
up. Can you,
I worked for the police chief in Lowell for 10 years. He did not believe in sobriety checkpoint. He felt that he witnessed a fatality. He didn't believe they were necessary, but surrounding towns believed in them and they supported them and they enacted them. So I believe it's up to the town to make the right decision. But again, the community really needs to be involved. And I think it's just being overcomplicated right now. And the town council can make this decision without data collecting, engineering, measuring homes. The state has done the work for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we have Todd Estabrooks. Mr. Estabrooks, you have 3 minutes. You may unmute.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for your time tonight. I appreciate it. I spoke on this a while back, and I think it may have been a year or two ago, which regarding the Long Pond Farms in Marston's Mills. And again, I know some work has been done on the problem, the situation we have there. But again, I had my grandkids here this past summer, and they were looking to go to the pond, and we couldn't even take that kayak out or anything due to the cyanobacteria in that pond. And I could see just it was completely green in the area I was watching. And so I was a bit disappointed. I know some work has been done, and I appreciate what has been done so far. I was just hoping that in the near future, some more time can get spent and some actual things can be done that would make this better. I know there's places that have the same problem or similar problems, and one pond further down the road I used to go on has looked like it's been cleaned up. So I'm hoping that can be done on that Long Pond Farms in the mill, so that when my kids and grandkids are here, that we can enjoy that pond. It's just disappointing that we can't even put our toes on that thing. It's so dirty, especially this past summer. Some of the levels in that pond or lake were very, very discouraging. So I appreciate your time and what you've done so far, but I hope you can do more in the future. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any further public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to council response to public comment. Any response on my left? Councilor Vivek?
Thank you, President Tamish. In response to those concerned about the speeding in town, it's without a doubt a concern. It's a concern of mine. Public safety is paramount. I raised 4 kids in this town and was very concerned about their, being able to bike ride or even walk the dog or whatever it might be. And I live, my lot backs up to 149, very close to Race Lane. And these are definite speedways. I just think, and I appreciate the public input for sure, but at the same time, it's also very important for those that are going to be implementing the rules and doing the work to replace signs and things of that nature, that gets fully vetted. that their input is paramount. It's important as counselors to bring things to the table, but they need to be properly vetted through staff and those who are experts in their fields and those who interpret state laws and things of that nature. And I don't think that was properly done from my point of view. And I also, other counselors, and obviously, I applaud the town manager for finding a solution to that problem and bringing a work group together to try to solve that situation so we can move forward. So we're not necessarily painting with a wide brush where we have to change things again or whatever, but we can really do it right and move forward in a proper way to, again, make our community safer. I think it's important, and I do think there's places where we could definitely lower the speed limit. I know in the village of Marston's Mills, we did that in the center of town when we did the work there, and it has gone a long way to helping safety and along with the tightening of the roads and things of that nature and the crosswalks that and has increased that. And it's you can walk around and enjoy the shops, have a breakfast, a cup of coffee, go to the cash market in safety because of that. But that was vetted. It was properly vetted by, again, the police department. I believe President Tamish was still the deputy chief at that point in time, and when it first started. And with that, also. Yep. You know what? Actually, I think I've used up my time, so I'll leave it at that. So, but thank you for all those who have come to public comment, and thank you, Town Manager, for taking the issue seriously, but at the same time moving forward to make sure we get it right.
Thank you. Any further discussion on my left? On my right, Councilor Lutke.
Thank you. All great comments tonight. I'll speak quickly about water. Water is always our priority. When we did the local comprehensive plan, it was the number one thing. Mr. Schwab spoke to it about the wetlands in here in Hyannis, and Mr. Estabrook spoke about the ponds in Marston's Mills. We always have to keep water at the forefront, and I hope that we'll discuss that seriously at our strategic planning session in January. Water is paramount. For Mr. Smith and Mr. Schwab, I couldn't agree with you more. Mr. Smith, you've been a frequent commenter. I've seen you at various other forums, and you always speak beautifully, and the zoning will change. It will absolutely change. It must change because we are destroying Main Street. For Kristen Turkelson and Sandy Jones, I'm happy to report that in February, I was the sole sponsor after Kristen left the council. I'm happy to report that Councilor Keene has joined me as a co-sponsor, and we are bringing this item back in February for a vote. And as was said, this is Chapter 90, Section 17C. It's in the Mass General Law, and it allows for this for the reason of you don't have to do a study. Well, I applaud Manager Ells for looking at a broader study. This is one piece of the study that can be implemented, and you can still look at the other pieces. So we're going to be bringing it back to the council, Councilor Keene and I, in February. I've already talked to President Tamish about this, and we will work with the appropriate entities, primarily the Barnstable Police Department, the fire departments, and also the DPW in January, and also, very importantly, the citizens group that's done so much legwork on this. So I look forward to bringing that forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Deleuze.
I'd just like to respond to what Sandy said. I do believe it's, they've said it was a year and a half ago or so they were doing a study, 2 years? That's kind of long. I agree. It should be done, and it should be at the forefront because I have children. Most of us have children or grandchildren or nieces, nephews, and it needs to be safe. We represent the villages. The village wants safety. That's what's supposed to give them. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Sheingold.
Yes, I want to speak to the question of water quality, and particularly the water quality in our lakes and ponds, I think, has not been given enough emphasis over the years, and going forward, there needs to be more focus on it, both on a short-term, intermediate-term, and long-term basis. I think the speaker talked about the problems at Long Pond, at Marston's Mills, the cyanobacteria problem, And that's an example of one of the lakes and ponds that needs more emphasis. Thank you.
Thank you. And further, Vice President Clark?
Thank you very much, President Tamish, and thank all that came to speak tonight. I, too, would like to emphasize support for dealing with our water quality in our town, and spearheaded by the comments from Mr. Estabrook. And I've seen the poor trends in our water quality, both in saltwater and freshwater bodies, and I personally was involved as a volunteer with River Day and Marston's Mills in the 1990s and 2000s. But we are the problem. It's our wastewater from our septic tanks that are the contributors to the over-nutrification of our water bodies, nitrogen in our salt waters and phosphorus in our fresh waters. So as a member of the town's Comprehensive Wastewater Management Committee, we work with the town to address this very aggressive plan and strategy to install sewers in our town. It's very expensive, we know, but we're on an aggressive pathway, and also considering alternative technologies that might complement the plan. So just so you know that it's not going to be a quick and easy fix because it took a long time for this problem to emerge. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Deleuze?
I'd just like to know, do we have a study on what our water the water treatment facility is doing? What are they letting out into the groundwater and out into our area? Because there's a lot of stuff that comes downhill, and we're downhill from up there, and the water quality is bad. And that little pond right next to the building, I don't know if anyone ever noticed that little pond out there. It's loaded with green scum, and it sits right next door. So do we have anybody out there that's doing water quality coming from there?
I'm sure we can get that information for you, what the reports are.
I'd love to have that information because I want to see what the town is putting into our water too. And I'd like to talk more about the DCPC also.
Okay. Any further comment on my right? Councilor Deleuze, if you wanted to address that, that would be now would be time to address that. If you wanted to, you wanted to speak on that tonight, you may? Or
Well, soon we have to put you. I'm not quite sure how this works because I'm new, but do we have to sit and talk about it first, or has it been talked about enough that we can do something with it? I'm not familiar with all of it. I'm familiar only with a little bit.
yeah, we can talk about it. This is just a response to the public comment. I can talk to you about the process and what's been done so far, but it's not on the agenda for tonight. But
Okay.
we can talk about that.
Okay, will it be on the agenda soon?
We can talk about that, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm sure,
All right.
I'm
Thank
sure
you.
there are
Thank you.
accommodations. All right, any further comment? Okay. Seeing none, I neglected at the close of public comment to indicate that 3 emails had been received, one from Kate McGregor in opposition to the proposed amendment to increase the the rental registration fee, from Lee Malakoff from the Barnstable Open Space Committee, and letter of support regarding the trail signs that we'll be discussing later tonight also, and from Nancy Johnson in opposition to increase in the rental registration fee. Okay. Lynn, could you just verify that Councilor Starr is still online? I don't see him.
Yeah, he's still here.
He's still here. Okay. For some reason, he's not showing up on the screen. There he is. Okay. There. Thank you. That's much better. Councilor Crowe, did you?
Yeah, I also received a communication. I thought it was for everybody, but from Jake Dewey with some ideas about the fee structure for some of these rental homes. So just wanted to let you know that that was out there.
Okay, thank you. Town manager communication, I'm sorry, any further discussion? Moving on to town manager communications. The town manager's report is pre-recorded and available on video on demand on the town website. Within that report this week is a reminder that the deadline for public comments regarding the calendar year fee hearings is 4 p.m. Monday, December 15th, this coming Monday. That he attended the Cape and Islands Bridge Coalition quarterly meeting on Tuesday, December 9th, along with the Undersecretary of Transportation, Jonathan Gulliver, and the Executive Director of Mega Projects Delivery with Mass DOT. On December 3rd, he sent a letter to Governor Healy expressing our concern regarding the reported absence of funding for the Massachusetts dredging program in the FY 2027 state budget proposal. He urged the governor to prioritize funding for the Massachusetts dredging program in 2027. Town Clerk Ann Quirk has announced that the annual mailing containing the street listing census form for all town residents is scheduled to be mailed out after Christmas. We've already discussed the speed limit concerns and that there is the town is looking into that matter. Kelly Colopy, Communications Manager for the Public Works Department, provided a video update on water resource management planning, including the comprehensive wastewater management plan. And finally, Andy Clyburn, Assistant Town Manager, provided an enforcement update working group report. Okay, you've all been provided a copy of the minutes. There were some corrections that Vice President Clark has relayed to the town clerk regarding some typographical errors and name spellings, wrong name on one person. So I think that's being addressed. Is there anything else that anyone had a concern with the minutes? If seeing none, could I have a motion to accept the minutes as corrected?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Since we are in a hybrid meeting, every vote has to be a roll call vote. So, Madam Clerk.
Councilors Bloom,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Crocker,
Yes.
Crow,
Yes.
Deleuze,
Yes.
Keene,
Yes.
Levesque,
Abstain.
Ludke,
Yes.
Penn,
Yes.
Scheingold,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes, yes.
Tamish.
Yes.
It's 11 yes.
Thank you. Moving on to communications from elected boards, committees, staff, commission reports, correspondence, and announcements. Is Senator Sear available, Lynn? Do you know? Excuse me. What? No, but I believe he was going to, I know Michael's here, right? I believe. Yeah. Was Senator Sear going to be online also? Yeah. Okay. There he is. Welcome, Senator.
If I might.
Yeah.
Hi there. Oh, hi there.
Excuse
good
me just for
evening.
1 minute, Senator. Councilor Starr has logged off.
Okay, thank you. Okay, you're all set? I'm sorry, Senator, go ahead.
Good evening, Chair Tamish, members of the council. It was my intention to be with you in person, but flu season had other plans, so figured I would stay home tonight and not put anyone at risk. But I did want to make sure that I came to the council, first and foremost, to welcome the new council members and just a preview of a few things that we're working on and answer any questions I can. I'm glad to come back as well in person for sometime in the new year for a more robust conversation and dialogue on a number of issues. But I didn't want it to go too long without coming to greet the new council members. I can provide a little update on a number of things you can expect that we're working on in the new year, some Cape-based priorities, and then answer any questions you may have. And again, apologize for not being in person, although grateful for this technology. If we're looking at what's on the agenda in the second half of the legislative session and what are the big issues we're working on, housing first and foremost, it just remains a key challenge for working Cape Codders and Islanders, and a key challenge across Massachusetts. I am fortunate to chair the Joint Committee on Housing, and the Senate President has tasked me and our committee with moving forward with. The Senate President has asked us to be bold and has asked that nothing be off the table. If you look at the challenges we're seeing in Massachusetts, we're short about 220,000 housing units. It means that Massachusetts residents or aspirational residents, particularly of my generation and younger generations, just simply can't afford housing. And we know that's true sort of nowhere else more than in my district, certainly on Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard in the Outer Cape. The worst, but on the Mid-Cape, this is a really big challenge. To afford the median home price in the town of Barnstable, a household has to make about $192,000 a year. Median household income in Barnstable is $97,000 a year. So we really have, we think about over 60% of households in Barnstable are housing burdened. So lots of work to do there. One opportunity that's going to be available to Barnstable that Representative Diggs and I pushed hard for Barnstable to be able to tap into, if y'all choose, is a tool that we created in the Affordable Homes Act, which is a $5.1 billion investment. The governor signed into law, did a whole host of pieces around housing last session. One of them is this seasonal communities designation. This enables towns like Barnstable and Cape Cod and Island towns to access tools without having to go through the cumbersome home rule process. The home rule process, as I think longer time councils will know, can be cumbersome, can be lengthy. Seasonal communities now, if the town accepts the designation, the towns can establish a year-round housing trust without a home rule petition, the ability to acquire year-round deed restrictions without a home rule petition, the ability to provide housing for municipal workers. There's several other tools. There's two minor zoning criteria related to cottage colonies and tiny homes and murder lots. So HLC, housing livable communities, originally the law designated that all the island towns and Dennis all the way out were automatically in seasonal communities. The Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities had the ability to designate additional communities. Barnstable will be receiving the ability to come into this designation if you choose, as will Yarmouth, actually, as will all towns on Cape Cod. This is something Representative Diggs in particular pushed hard for. HLC is going to come. We've asked HLC to come and give these new towns a real briefing around what's in seasonal communities so you can answer all of your questions. I'm just thrilled that Barnstable is going to be able to have, be able to opt into this tool if you all choose, and really something that, you have able to you. So more to come from HLC on that. We're asking them to give a pretty thorough briefing so new towns can understand what this means. There's a few other housing tools I think are really important. We did last session we did $1 billion in middle income and working income property tax relief. Included in that provision was a good landlord tax credit. It's a local option that allows cities and towns to offer property tax relief to landlords who rent units on a year-round basis and who are renting them on an affordable level. So this is something Barnstable could tap into already, something that is already law that folks that you could bring to bear. The other piece that's really critical with in this tax package was actually a tripling of the Title V subject tax credit up to $18,000, and also allowing that the costs related to sewer hookups apply. if you're in a nitrogen-sensitive area. Barnstable and almost all of Cape Cod is in a nitrogen-sensitive area, so that's another tax credit that folks are able to tap into. We are still working. I know Councillor Clark has been a great partner on this. I'm still working to make a technical tweak to make sure that the veterans work off property tax benefit is increased in tandem with a senior property tax work off that we had done. So that's really on the sort of housing front, on existing tools and potentially new tools that are going to be available to the town. Of course, all these housing tools, and especially seasonal communities, these tools are going to be difficult to realize at scale without revenue. A hallmark of my tenure has been really trying to find ways for us to solve Cape Cod's big problems with other people's money, right? Not on the backs of year-round Cape Codders who, maybe land rich at this point, but are certainly cash poor. A real hallmark of that has been the Cape Cod Line's Water Protection Fund. The Water Protection Fund, and Mark Ells serves as Barnstable representative on that fund, has been a remarkable success. To date, this fund, with a 2.75% surcharge on room occupancy, has generated over $307 million in revenue. It's enabled over $1 billion in projects, mostly sewer projects, across Barnstable, the rest of the Mid-Cape, much of the Cape. It's been a tremendous success, even more successful than I think we hoped it would be. To date, Barnstable has received over $44 million in subsidy to support projects. It's really shaved off about 25% of the costs of sewer projects for the town. So this has been a tremendous cost savings, enabling us to move forward with essential wastewater and sewer projects that are absolutely necessary to clean up our waterways and embayments, and also providing a real cushion to what is a very significant cost. So Cape Cod Line's Water Protection Fund been a big success. I think in the housing space, we're trying to figure out, all right, how would you come up with sort of a similar amount of revenue or a parallel amount of revenue around that's not on the backs of property taxpayers. The legislative delegation is working in partnership with folks at the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce, and certainly with a very strong push from our island constituents to have a local option transfer fee on luxury real estate. This could also really bring very significant dollars, to really help us preserve year-round housing on Cape Cod. So there's a big push there. 14 out of the 19 communities I represent in the Cape Cod Line's district have already passed home rule petitions for a transfer fee. I'd really urge Barnstable to take a look at a transfer fee proposal. This was something the legislature would need to pass, but I think as we look at costs, especially related to housing, this is a really crucial and important tool. What else is on the horizon for 2026? Governor Healy filed a pretty robust environmental bond bill called the Mass Ready Act. There is a lot in this bill related to coastal resilience. Barnstable's actually been leading the state in coastal resilience, was really proud to have helped bring pretty significant, several million state dollars to the Sandy Neck coastal resilience project and several other projects in the town. But coastal resilience through this environmental bond bill is something we will take up, and we will take up probably soon in the new year. Included in that as well is trying to figure out how do you provide supports for homeowners, and homeowners are really burdened by homeowners insurance. Cape Cod and the islands has some of the really highest increases in homeowners insurance. In some cases, people having their homeowners insurance being dropped. Part of that challenge is we don't have a flood insurance market in Massachusetts. So we're hoping the Mass Ready Act is going to be able to further bolster coastal resilience in Massachusetts, help people afford flood insurance and flood insurance, and then also address a number of other pieces. I've done extensive work around ocean acidification. I'm the lead filer of omnibus PFAS legislation, which of course has been an issue that Hyannis and other water districts have been dealing with and grappling with. So we expect that to come. Energy costs continue to be extremely high in Massachusetts. Of course, Barnstable has been part of the solution on this, in part with offshore wind, but I expect the legislature is going to be looking to take up figuring out other ways that we can save ratepayers money related to energy. And so those are sort of the two other kind of big pieces that are on our agenda going into the new year. On the home rule petition front, Barnstable, I'm grateful to Barnstable. I represent some towns. Town of Nantucket usually files about 13 or 14 home rule petitions annually, the legislature, which is quite a lot. Barnstable, you just have one home rule petition. This is an Senate Bill 2635, an act authorizing the city known as the town of Barnstable to use red lights in certain emergency response vehicles. So this was filed by me in September. It's been referred to the Joint Committee on Public Safety and Homeland Security. We're awaiting a hearing date, but we hope this is going to be able to move forward in a routine fashion. So that's just sort of a quick update and a preview for me. I'm really glad. I want to make sure, especially new counselors know, please do not hesitate to reach out to me or my team. Michael Holcomb from my office, who is with you in person tonight, my district director. Most weeks spends a day working out of Barnstable Town Hall. We're grateful for the town of Barnstable for hosting us. So please, we really aim to be partners, on big issues and on small issues. Work in close partnership, of course, with Barnstable's own Kip Diggs and also Representative Exaros as well. So if folks have questions, I'm glad to get into anything you'd like. I'm also glad to come back for a more sort of substantive, less congested conversation. If members of the council would feel is helpful. A number of issues often come up. We're in pretty close communication with members of the council and, of course, with your very talented and able town staff led by Mark Els. So, Mr. Chair, I'd be glad to entertain any questions folks may have or things we can look into. I'm glad to elaborate what I can. And as always, it's an honor to represent Barnstable and to work in partnership with all of you.
Thank you. We're glad to have you. You got a lot of irons in the fire there, to say the least.
Yeah, we're busy.
A lot of balls to juggle. I did thank you. I did want to recognize and acknowledge Michael Holcomb is here. And Michael, we thank you for coming tonight. One of the issues that we'd like to discuss, and I mentioned a little bit earlier, is the lack of funding in the governor's budget for dredging, for the dredge fund. And obviously, for a coastal community, not just Barnstable, but all the coastal communities, that's a pretty significant omission or decrease that, we do look forward to that funding and keeping the base and the channels open. So that is pretty important to us. On the seasonal communities front, we appreciate your work on that. It's a big decision for Barnstable. There's, pluses and minuses to everything, and, we're going to evaluate it when the final rules, have they been issued?
Yeah, so on seasonal communities, the final regulations should be issued by the end of the year.
Okay.
You also will receive sort of a formal invitation from HLC to accept the designation. These are tools, just with seasonal communities, right? We crafted something that we wanted to make sure would work for, we got different towns in different stages of their housing crisis, right? If you come to Nantucket, on Nantucket, the island is literally figuring out how you're going to subsidize housing for most of the municipal workforce who don't already own a home or going to inherit a home, for people who make up to 250% of area median income. The scale of the housing crisis, right, it is not as acute on the mainland. It's probably much more acute, in my neck of the woods in the Outer Cape than it is in the Mid Cape or the Upper Cape. So this is designed as a toolkit for towns to be able to tap into at different stages of sort of the housing crisis. I would think that some of the tools here, I think, for Barnstable would be helpful, especially around housing preservation. Which I know has been an increasing kind of conversation, trying to figure out how do you retain year-round housing. But this is really meant to be a toolkit that some of which could be useful today, some of which may not be useful and relevant for Barnstable until a few years down sort of the road. And so it's designed in that manner. So I'd really encourage you folks, once the final regulations come out, we'll have HLC come down and give you a really thorough briefing on this, can answer a whole host of questions. And then, really see what's a fit. If you look at how the housing crisis played out, it's pretty predictable. Where Nantucket is today is where the Vineyard's going to be in 5 to 7 years, where The Outer Cape's going to be in about 8 years, 9 years. So it kind of follows this trajectory and this trend. So I am confident these are tools that at some point Barnstable will want to tap into, and it's up to you folks to to figure out when that is.
Fantastic. One other thing.
And on dredging, sorry, this is a major issue, and the delegation has chimed in pretty strongly about being very concerned about dredging not being included in the capital plan and figuring out how do we address this either through Seaport Economic Development Council grants or other means and mechanisms. We're fortunate here in Barnstable County to have county dredging, which is a real help for us, at least having in that dredging resource. But yeah, this was a real surprising omission for us, and the delegation is working on it.
Fantastic. I won't go through all the different issues, but one of the ones that really sticks out with me is the Title V tax credit. That's huge in this town as we embark on our CWMP. Not only is it expensive for the town, but it's expensive for our residents also. And any relief that they can get for the considerable expense to hook up to the sewer is certainly appreciated.
Yes, and sir, that's available now, and that already, and this is, something I championed and got added to this tax package. So the Title V tax credit is up to $18,000, and it includes, if you're in a nitrogen-sensitive area, which you are in Barnstable, it includes sewer hookups. So if you're a resident of Barnstable and you are hooking up to the sewer, if you are upgrading a Title V system into an IA system or not an AI, an IA system, you're going to be able to get a pretty sizable tax credit there. I'm working with actually Representative Dave Vieira in Falmouth and other colleagues to see if we can make this credit refundable, because we do know that we have a number of constituents who may not be have a lot of income, may not have a lot of taxes to get credits for. So we're also working on that. But I want to make sure Barnstable residents are aware of that. It's still a significant cost, but this should help cushion the blow of that sewer hookup cost.
Thank you. Any discussion for the senator on my left? Councilor Crocker.
Good evening, Senator Sear. Nice to see you
Evening,
again. Nice to be working
you.
with you again. I can vouch for what the senator said when he talks about the Cape and Islands delegation. When I was a member of the Cape and Islands delegation, we were very, very together on nearly every single item, because if it affects one town on the Cape, it affects a lot of towns on the Cape. So again, I appreciate you, being able to work with you again. I do have one quick question and one other question. The Committee on Public Safety, have they gotten an extension on being able to have committee hearings?
So it's first of all, good. Will, it's good to be serving with you again. Once you're a representative, you're always a representative.
Whatever.
And yes, I really cherish the the real collaborative, bipartisan way, and also for Massachusetts, inter-House and Senate way, which is probably more radical for us, right? Often the House and the Senate in Massachusetts don't get along. On the Cape and Islands, we work. There's 8 of us who represent the region, and it's been a real, in this really polarized political moment, it's been something I've really cherished to work in a bipartisan fashion across House and Senate to get things done for my constituents. So I deeply appreciate that. This home rule petition is a late file bill, so it doesn't apply. Okay. The Joint Rule 10 deadline doesn't apply. So the Joint Committee on Public Safety and Homeland Security will, still has the bill under their jurisdiction, and they'll be able to have a hearing and take it up. It hasn't. I don't think it's been scheduled for a hearing. I will double check.
All right. Thank you. And Mr. Chairman, to the senator through you, can you kind of just give us a real quick idea on the state's what skin the state has with regard to the bridges and the construction of the new bridges?
Great question. I just got a briefing this afternoon virtually from Louisa Pionski, who is the point on these bridges. We are funding for the bridges has not been affected, notwithstanding there was sort of an errant tweet that occurred during the shutdown. But all of the dollars for the Sagamore Bridge are committed and are in hand, and the state is moving forward with both the environmental and planning processes for both the Bourne and for the Sagamore and the Bourne Bridge. We expect the environmental review process will conclude I think by the middle of 2026. There's then a pretty robust procurement process. There's actually 3 rounds of procurement process. Those will conclude by the end of 2027, and construction will begin on the Sagamore Bridge by 2028. And then we'll proceed for the next several years. The plan then is to have the Bourne follow in tandem. Massachusetts has applied for a second round of federal funding to replace the Bourne Bridge. We should be hearing actually sometime early in the year about the status of that federal grant. But from a Sagamore Bridge perspective, the bridge's replacement is moving forward. The new bridge will be built in parallel with the existing bridge. That'll be the eastbound section. These are actually going to be 2 bridges side by side. The eastbound section will be built first, then the existing Sagamore Bridge will come down, traffic will be moved over to the new bridge, and the second bridge will be built. And then it'll be completed sometime in the mid-2030s. But we expect that that's moving forward. The question and the real kind of unknown is financing for the Bourne Bridge. But I think we're going to continue to be real persistent about funding of what are these are federal assets. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts has basically stepped in to do all the planning, the design, putting over $700 million in state monies to replace these assets and then to take them over. So this is a pretty good deal for the federal government. And we're going to try to make the case there. But the Sagamore Bridge project is moving forward, and I'm really heartened to see the attention and that the Healy Driscoll administration has brought to this project. And Louisa Pionski, if you have an opportunity to meet her, and she is coming to these public briefings and lots of stuff that we're doing, a pretty sophisticated, savvy person to be leading this work for the state. So I do feel like we're in good hands with the Sagamore. It's the Bourne financing that's outstanding.
Thank you. Anyone further on my left? On my right? Councilor Ledke?
Thank you, President Tamish, and thank you, Senator Sear. What an amazing review you did. All of these things are so important to us, so you're doing the right things, absolutely, for our communities. And I look forward to our discussion of the seasonal communities, a lot of things to consider. One thing that President Tamish had mentioned a few meetings ago, and that the governor had allowed, and that Rhode Island, operates very successfully, are the speed cameras. And I know that came through, and President Tamish really looked into it, and he said it was very onerous. It did not pass, but I think it would be a really valuable tool for the municipalities. Do you have any insight into the speed cameras? Will that come back, and will it be done in a way that's less burdensome and able to really be executed?
So thank you, Councilor Lutke, for the question. The Senate we actually took up legislation about speed cameras. I think this was right before the pandemic, actually, and essentially it would have been a pilot for a number of communities to try them out. I don't exactly know where that proposal is, but my colleague Will Brownsberger, who's a Senate Pro Tem, number 3 in the Senate, and is a good friend and partner on a number of things. It's his bill, so let me check in with him about where that is and what we think the chances of it are. I think essentially having a pilot, if there were a pilot that the state did, I think Barnstable could then apply or could then be part of that if you folks wanted to try that out in certain intersections. So let me look into exactly where that is, but I'll talk to Will about it and see what I can find out.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was an outside section of the budget this year, and it appeared to get dropped. My concerns with it were that the speed camera, the first violation was a warning. The second one was $25. I think the third one was $25, as opposed to a speeding ticket that, for 15 miles over would be $150. If it's on a speed camera,
that sounds like a bargain.
It's quite a bargain to if you're going to get caught speeding. I think you should be on a speed camera. But anyway, if you go look into that, I'd like to put them on every street in town. But anyway, thank you for that. Any further discussion on my right? Seeing none? No. I I think that's it. And I sincerely appreciate your time, and hope you're feeling better. And once again, I want to thank Michael for being here also.
Yeah, you're only as good in this business as your staff, and Michael Holcomb is a real ace, and I really appreciate his time. I appreciate the town of Barnstable for hosting us, once a week, and just really, looking forward to seeing you all in person. And if anything, ever comes up, please don't hesitate to reach out. So many of the things that the town wants to do flows through the state at some level, and many of the pieces the state advances often ends up coming down to the town. So I appreciate your partnership and wishing everyone happy, restful holidays. And if I don't see you all in the next couple of weeks, we'll see you in the new year.
We have one late filed question here.
Oh, great.
Sorry about that, Senator Sear.
No
Thank you for
worries.
staying with us and for slugging it out while you're not feeling well, and I appreciate that you stayed home. But my question is, recently we received a message from the Massachusetts Municipal Association asking for support for a bill. Is that something that we need to send a letter of support for, or is this on a track that doesn't need a letter?
It depends what the issue is or what the bill is.
I believe it was the Municipal Empowerment Act.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, municipal empowerment. I think a letter certainly doesn't hurt. I am a fan of the Municipal Empowerment Act. I think there's a lot of really good things that are in there. What the Mass Municipal Association is also really starting is a real conversation about the fiscal situation for a number of our towns. And really, if you look up, if you look at, a whole host of factors, just state funding and revenues at the local level just sort of aren't keeping up. I know this is specifically true, and we've been working a bit. I should have mentioned this earlier. If you look at Chapter 70 funding, education funding, and the Student Opportunity Act, which we passed in 2018, put very significant investments in public education, and Barnstable benefited initially significantly from this program, like tens of millions and more dollars in state funding. With Student Opportunity Act, Barnstable is actually one of the towns that actually has been losing out a bit or not receiving the amount of funding we wanted you all to receive. And so we're beginning to really take a look and see about that. Part of the challenge for us and for Barnstable is, this formula is the Chapter 70 formula, in part is based on property valuations. And as the property valuations have increased, astronomically, this has sort of disfavored us in that formula. So that's one piece we're looking at. Mass Municipal is really starting a broader conversation about how are we just going to pay for all of these municipal services in a world where Prop 2.5 and other factors, I think, have really, I think Mass Municipal would say, has sort of constrained the ability for towns to respond. State aid has stayed, before charge to increase it, but inflation has really made it really difficult for even those big jumps in UGA, in unrestricted, government aid, to make a difference. So certainly a letter on Municipal Empowerment Act certainly cannot hurt. It was not taken up last session. I think I'd really like to see us do that. I mean, oftentimes what I'm trying to make the case to my colleagues on our problems is often help us help ourselves. I'm clear-eyed that probably not going to be able to convince my colleagues to give the Cape and Islands District tens of millions of dollars to solve wastewater, to solve housing, to solve other crises we have. Even if I was the Senate president, I don't know if I could be able to do that. But what I can do and what I've really focused on is being like, look, help us help ourselves, which we did that when it came to wastewater with the Cape and Islands Water Protection Fund. I think we're now trying to do that with housing. And really, I think more tools for municipalities like ours to help, to help balance the books and to provide vital services to our communities. I'm all in favor for. So feel free to send a letter, of course, and we'll keep you posted as those deliberations move forward. I know it can be a frustrating and slow process. I often share that frustration as someone who really likes to get lots of things done.
Thank you. Any further? Once again, Senator, thank you, and Michael, for your time, and we really appreciate it, and we would welcome you back anytime.
Great. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. Thanks so much.
Same to you now. Okay. I'd like to recognize Lynn Poyant, who is going to introduce the Opioid Settlement Fund grant recipients, and we're going to do an update on that program.
Thank you, President Tamish. Lynn Poyant, Director of Communications. I'm honored tonight to be here with 3 of our grant recipients from this year. I just want to give you a little update. We went through 5 grant funding rounds, and with all 5 of those rounds, the town has given out $592,542. We have $90,000 that is kind of being held because we're waiting for grant agreements to come back, and those folks will be here in January to provide an update to you at that time. So we did 4 regular rounds, and then we did a mini grant round. We have 2 of our mini grant round recipients here tonight. I'm going to start off by bringing up Karen and Jamie Pina from ROAR, which is Ride for Opioid Addiction Recovery, a donor-advised fund of the Cape Cod Foundation, to provide their update.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
Welcome.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, town
Good evening.
councilors, for having us. Can you hear both of us?
Can hear you so far, yeah.
Okay, I'm hogging the
evening.
mic. So we just want to say thank you for giving us the opportunity to do what we do. We're closing in on close to a decade with ROAR. And we wanted to thank the town of Barnstable and the councilors for all that they've done. Anybody that's had anything to do with the opioid settlement monies, because it's been a little difficult. It was a little complicated at first when everybody got the funds. But we just wanted to say thank you for doing this for us. And we have a little bit of an update. We're grassroots, so Jamie and I both have adult children that have been through addiction. They're still with us, thankfully. So the money that we get is for sober living, housing, / programs. So what our funds do is we will put Barnstable residents, the funds are earmarked specifically for the town, per the monies that are allotted to us. And they go to vetted sober home programs. Now, that might be a little hard or a little difficult to get through, but a lot of times people can get placed into sober living facilities, and that's it. They don't have a program, they don't have a sober coach, they don't have a plan. So Jamie and I have, through our experience, we've noticed that they need something a little bit more than just a spin dry, if you will. So that's why we've gone and taken our money, and we've actually found a couple of entities who can do this. And they're not here on the Cape, although one of them, the Heron Project, they're affiliated with Falmouth and have a satellite office. But we have found that this is the best way for the addict to recover, is to have more than a 2-week interval of sober home payments. So that being said, we have a lot of people in the community that back us up, and I know a few of you town councilors here, and I work for the town as well. So back in 2017, when we started this, I think the first year we raised maybe, I don't know, 10 grand or something?
10, 15, I think.
Yeah.
10 or 15,000.
So this is my husband, Jamie, as you know, and if he turns around, he's going to show you the back of his shirt.
So this shirt I'm wearing here, we do a lot of raising of money on this shirt. There's 40 local businesses, Cape Cod businesses, on this shirt that sponsor this effort that we're working with. We're a motorcycle event mostly. The big event is we ride motorcycles. We do some other events. We do some sober dances. We do some poker runs. We do a lot of things with the biker community that really raises money for what we're doing here.
Yeah. So our main event is an awareness ride that is a 50-mile ride that goes through several towns. It starts in Falmouth and ends in Harwich.
Right. So
that's our main event.
Pretty much we spend a lot of the year just working on this.
Mm-hmm.
So in September we have this big ride, and all our spare time is put forth to this.
Yeah, I do the admin work, and he goes and just knocks on people's doors. So turn around and show me your shirt, honey. So here's the community here. These are people that are all sponsors that they know what's going on. They either have a loved one or they know somebody who has needed these funds for this particular purpose. So we're happy to have our community that backs us. Hence, you can see, usually if we say, look, this is what we're collecting funds for, or this is what we want the grant for, as soon as they hear those words, opioid addict, they write that check. Because everybody knows what we're in and the epidemic that we've been living. So, with that being, go ahead, honey.
And again, thank you. Thank you to the town of Barnstable. We appreciate
I would
your
just
efforts.
like to end with a stat. As I said, close to a decade we're honing in on, and ROAR, since 2017, has placed close to 400 individuals in sober living programs. And we're pretty proud of that. Thank you.
Fantastic job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, I would like to bring up Dr. Raja Sinjab from Realize Truth, Inc.
Welcome.
Hi, good evening. My name is Raja Sinjab, and I am the co-founder and director of Realize Truth. Thank you, Town of Barnstable officials and community partners for the opportunity to share how the opioid abatement funding has strengthened our programming and the impact it is having on our community. Realize Truth is a community-based mental health nonprofit dedicated in healing trauma, which we feel is the root cause of substance use. In today's world, substances have become a coping mechanism for deeper mental health wounds, and they should not be seen as separate. Mental health and opiate use are deeply interconnected. At our center, right here in Hyannis, we provide trauma-focused counseling delivered by highly qualified therapists, including myself, peer-led group therapy with an emphasis on nervous system regulation, and community building events designed to reduce the isolation, which research consistently identifies as a major factor in opioid use and relapse. By helping people regulate their nervous system and cultivating community, we are preventing relapse, strengthening long-term recovery, reducing overdose risk, and breaking cycles of intergenerational trauma. Children do not have to inherit the pain or patterns of their parents simply because it is in their family history. With the support of the town of Barnstable, we were able to expand and sustain key services at our Hyannis Center, which include individual trauma counseling for low-income clients with a history of substance use, including individuals on Mass Health or with no insurance, which these individuals would usually not be able to get qualified trauma therapists. We never turn people away, and this funding helps make it possible. It also includes peer-led groups 4 to 5 times per week on topics of overdose grief support, children's art therapy, compassionate yoga for regulating the nervous system, mindfulness and grounding strategies, parenting support, men's and women's groups, and trauma education seminars. We have also provided weekly groups at High Point Plymouth, a local detox facility, ensuring people transitioning to the Cape leave with tools, support, and awareness of our services. In total this year, we have provided 1,456 service engagements through individual therapy and groups, which we're really proud of. The most powerful outcomes are our voices from the community, and I'm just going to read a few examples and quotes so that you have an understanding of the impact we've made. Women who courageously share that substance use was the only way they knew how to dull the pain of abuse and who finally have a safe place to process it. We've had people mention, after I was sexually assaulted, I started using opiates. I'm just now putting the pieces together. Thank you for listening. I really needed to tell someone. We are working with families grieving the loss of a loved one to overdose and trying to find their footing again. Others emphasize that they are finally reconnecting to their bodies after years of dissociation. Another example is a man attending our services who previously was on opioid maintenance therapy, which is Suboxone or methadone, and selling OxyContin in our community, and is now free of all substances and supporting his wife, kids, and through a business he created. It's pretty powerful. One of our therapists received a crisis call from a client actively using within this past month, and she coordinated the hospital admission and personally advocated to prevent an unsafe discharge. That client is now in long-term treatment and thriving. One last voice of the community highlights a 5-year-old who witnessed his mother overdose on the floor and is now working with one of our therapists to rebuild their child-parent connection through attachment building strategies. It kind of gives me the chills, but it's happening. These are just a few of the stories we interface on a daily basis, the unspoken events that are happening in our community. These people are doing hard work to heal the underlying causes of opioid and substance use. When people repeatedly tell us, I feel safe here, that's when we know we are meeting our goals. My husband and I, Connor O'Reilly, are Realize Truth co-founders, and we built this foundation on our own recovery from opiates. As teenagers, we were victims of the opioid epidemic in the early 2000s. Back when we needed community, we needed mental health strategies, we needed to heal our bodies from generational trauma, we needed more, and it wasn't there. And that's what we are providing today. We are building an organization we wish existed for us. Thank you, Town of Barnstable, for believing in this work and investing in trauma healing as a pathway to true substance use prevention and long-term recovery. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for all you've done.
I have to say that our youngest member of the audience this evening is their son, who's, 3 months old, 4 months old? 4 months old. So, and he's been spectacular this evening. Yeah. So thank you for being here. Our last grant recipient is being represented by Dr. Wesley Klein, the medical director for the Hyannis Center for Harbor Health Services, Inc.
Welcome, Dr. Klein.
Thank you. Thank you. In case people don't know, Harbor is part of a health center, a health system. There's 5 components. The largest one is in Hyannis. It's a federally qualified health center providing service to about 10,000 patients a year on average. We are a primary care, behavioral health, and dental. Within the primary care areas where we offer our what we call MAT program, medication-assisted treatment. This includes medications such as Vivitrol, Suboxone, Sublocade, which are used to treat opiate addiction. The grant that we have is actually to develop one of the areas that we don't have a lot of strength in right now is peer support. We do have the mental health part, we have the medical, but the peer support is, again, as they were speaking about, where people with lived experience help other people that are struggling with addiction. Peer support is an integral part of this, and this grant is allowing us to develop a peer support program. Starting in, they're doing a focus group at our one of our locations. We have another location in Plymouth to have people who are in our medication-assisted treatment program see what sort of peer support they need. And then we have hired a consultant that will help develop the plan, present it to our administration, and see if we can start to develop something within that. The other component is contingency management, which is a way of augmenting treatment by using incentives, usually small, believe it or not, cash card incentives for doing certain things or or staying in the program for certain amounts of time, which is really interesting. It works very well with stimulant use disorder and other kind of use disorder. So we're using this $49,000 to kind of build some of those programs in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you.
So we were going to have a few other groups with us this evening, but the flu has gotten them, and we will bring them with us on January 8th at your next town council meeting.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, along the lines of communications, for the counselors, over the next few days, you're going to be receiving several emails regarding your preferences for liaison work to the various committees, and also what committees you may be interested in serving on, such as the TIE-TIF committee, the appointments committee, the DIF committee, the rules committee, the committees on committees, and those emails will be coming out. We also have to establish the school town subcommittee to try to coordinate the town and school efforts going forward, and also setting up the zoning subcommittee that we talked about and passed a few weeks ago. So those will all be coming out in the next few days, and would appreciate your attention to those and getting back to Cynthia with your preferences. Any other communications? Vice President Clark?
Thank you very much, President Tamish. I believe we were all invited to the Hanukkah celebration at the Cape Cod Mall this coming Sunday at 4 o'clock. I just wanted to remind you and the audience that this event is an annual event that some of us participate in and support. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Crowe?
Just want to remind everybody that the Osterville Christmas Stroll is tomorrow night in Osterville. Activities start, I think, around 4. I'd also like to note that the Osterville Village Association just unanimously voted to have the name changed to the Osterville Nightingale Christmas Stroll, named after both Gail and Neil Nightingale, who've been longtime members of the community and spent a lot of their time here, both Neil at the police department and Gail and many committees here, including the zoning committee and I can't remember the other one. But I just want to say we changed the name for next year, and hope everybody can attend. Looks like the weather's going to be nice. Thanks.
Thank you. Seeing no further comments, we're going to move into the orders of the day. With respect to the public hearings, and we have several of them tonight, I'm going to announce the opening and closing of each public hearing without asking for a vote to do so. However, if any counselor objects at any time, then a vote will be taken to open and close the public hearing. Okay? So if we could start with Councilor Lutke, 2026-064, please.
Okay, thank you. This is an item of old business. It has a public hearing and it is a roll call majority vote. Item 2026-064, amending the code of the Town of Barnstable, Part 1, General Ordinances, Chapter 170, Rental Properties, to increase the rental registration fee.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. At this point, I will move to open the public hearing. And Brian, you have a team, okay? Welcome.
Good evening, councilors. I'm Jeff Carter,
Jeff
Deputy
Carter.
Director of Inspectional Services. I'm going to be speaking tonight alongside Director Florence and Public Health Director McKean. So, as previously stated by Councilor Ludke, we're here to request an amendment to the Code of the Town of Barnstable. Part 1, General Ordinances, Chapter 170, Rental Properties to increase the rental fee. Our rationale here is that the town's rental registration program fees are in need of adjustment to reflect the current costs of providing services. These fees have not been adjusted for many years. They are outdated and they do not reflect the cost of providing services. Barnstable's rental inventory has increased 800 units or 30% since 2017, and another 500 to 600 units either permitted or imminent. There has been no adjustment in staffing levels to accommodate the existing or pending increases. Municipal operating costs have continued to rise, driven by increases in personnel expenses, increased regulation and regulatory changes, technology upgrades, and generally inflation. As a result, the program operates in a deficit and the staff are unable to function effectively and efficiently. Increased service demands. New regulation and changes to existing regulations, along with emerging public health and consumer protection concerns, require staff to provide services beyond the level of services that exist under the current funding structure. Equity and fairness. The current structure results in a subsidy from all taxpayers for services that are directly benefited to specific applicants, landowners, and businesses. Updating the fees ensure that those who receive the benefit or require the service bear the appropriate share of the costs. The proposed fee adjustment will bring these fees into alignment with the actual cost of providing rental registration services. Proposed increases will also preserve service quality and responsiveness to ensure that the town has the resources necessary for staffing to maintain timely, professional, and thorough delivery of services. This approach ensures both fiscal responsibility and fairness by aligning fees with the services provided. The fiscal impact of this proposal is based on the current number of rental units in the town. The new fee is estimated to generate $884,000 annually. This is $695,000 more than the current fee generates. The additional revenue will be used to cover the costs of additional health inspectors, housing administrative position, 2 additional vehicles, overhead costs, and a building inspector, as well as reducing the tax support used to operate the current program. With upwards to 600 additional units in the pipeline, an additional position may be needed in the future, whose costs should be covered with the additional revenue generated when these units come online. The FY27 proposed operating budget will include a request to add these additional costs to the Inspectional Services Department operating budget. And with that, we will open it up to any questions that you guys have.
Thank you. Is there anyone here from the public that would like to be heard on this matter? Mr. Bornstein. And would you just identify yourself for the record?
Stuart Bornstein, live in the town of Barnstable.
Thank you.
Right now, I believe the registration fee is $90. And I don't know what I get for it, to be honest with you. All that information I need is already in the tax bill that I get every year, 3 or 4 times a year. So these units are already registered with the town, and they're on record. So why we have to pay for it, again, I don't know. I'm not speaking as a landlord. I'm speaking for the tenant. Because when we get a bill for $250, that's a cost that gets passed on to the tenant. And this isn't fair to the tenant to pay a registration fee for fees that we pay in our taxes already. We already pay plenty of taxes, plenty of insurance, and anything we need from the town to fix something, we have to pay a fee for building, for a permit. So we're feed already everywhere else. This is strictly a money grab in my mind. You don't have to tax the tenant. You're not taxing the landlord. You tax the individual guy, the affordable housing, the market rate guy. All right, and when you do affordable housing, that you think we're doing a great job. When I rent the unit to an affordable unit, the people that are in market are paying $100, $150 a month subsidy every month, every tenant that's supporting this affordable. And when I sell something, it's a $150,000 shortfall. I got to cover it. We only work on 3, 4, 5% at the bottom line. This is charged to the person that wants to live in Barnstable and wants to pay for a unit he owns. But we already priced them out with another $150,000, maybe even more. Now we want to have, beside the taxes, we want to add $950. I'm not saying the town doesn't deserve it or don't use it, but this is the wrong way to tax. We're double and tripling taxing the same tenant. Why not tax Airbnbs every week? All right, you got to go, same thing, tax the homeowners. Why tax the tenant, the guy that's trying to rent an apartment? It just isn't, it isn't correct. I don't want to lose out my warning. I wrote a bunch of things in here. But it's got to be a fair way to do it. This is not fair. He's talking $846,000 on present inventory. By next year, you'll have almost $2 million collected on this with the new housing coming on. And all this, again, is registered on the tax bill. Right now, this week, we had 2 tax people come down on a project I'm doing and wanted to measure every room while it's under construction. They put it all on the tax record. So it's already there. I mean, and to me, you're on a computer system. Every year you got to pay for the same registration. You know, I could see once for a brand new unit, you want to get extra money for it. But I am not paying for it. The tenant is paying for it. And that's what's wrong with this. It's not right. And you're talking $2 million for a registration. You're already registered. I just think it should be something else, another fair way to get money for the town. But don't leave it on 2,000, 3,000 people to pick up the tab for this. And these are the same people that can't afford to buy a house, have to rent something. And we want to sit and get them again and again. I thank you for listening to me.
Thank you.
Good evening. David Lawler, resident of Barnstable for about 30 years as a summer guy and then 30 years as a full-time guy. And first, before I get into my conversation, I think that Nightingale Stroll is one of the greatest things I've heard in a long time, Mr. Crow. Yeah, that's a great thing. They both deserve it. I've been active in the town for a long time. I've been on the Prudential Committee at the COM for about 15 or so years, various committees, school committee a long time ago. And I have no skin in this game. I don't own any residential units. I am an attorney and do represent developers. I'm not going to, but I'm not getting paid tonight, which is killing me, by the way. That was a joke. But the issue with following Mr. Bornstein, and we don't always agree, but I do agree with him. And I've been involved in trying to get housing for, behind the scenes and working with the planning board the planning department over the years. And there were some comments about them. I think actually they're the best planning department on the Cape, in my opinion. But to get this housing, and Mr. Bornstein's correct, this is going to be borne by the tenants. We've been dealing with affordable housing issues in Barnstable for a long time, and I represent developers. And developers right now, I know there's been a lot of hot issues with a lot of the development that's gone on in Main Street and whatnot. But the cost of this, and I understand, Brian Flores and the team here, are trying to do the right thing. But one of the things I want to point out with all this development, that to not directly tax the tenants, keep in mind that the property real estate revenues with all these new projects are going to produce millions I'm guessing, I'm just purely guessing, I haven't researched, but my guess is hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars of new revenue when these projects go up. That's what you should use to pay for these jobs. I'm not saying that these positions aren't here, but to do, you know, if you put a direct tax on the landlord, I represent landlords all the time, and what they do, like any businessman, they pass that on to the consumer. It's almost like tariffs. You get a tariff, you're going to pay for it. You see pricing go up. We've seen that in the United States right now. There's been tariffs put on everything. You know, meat's up 35%. All these other various things are happening in the government, and that's just pure, simple economics. These developers, they're good people, most of them, but they're going to pass that expense on to the tenant. And if you think anything otherwise, and I was listening to Senator Sear and one of the comments that he was making, and affordable housing's been an issue since the day, I can't remember when it wasn't, and I'm sure it was here before I started. And that's one of the biggest things we have, and that's what I'm worried about. The working person needs these apartments. We put I've put a lot of apartments online for clients in the past 10 or so years. And when I was initially looking at rents of, my clients were looking at rents of $1,400, $1,500, $1,600, even $1,800. Oh boy, you might get to $2,000. Well, you know what? There was a $3,200 now. These are crushing these people who have to rent. I don't rent. Again, I don't own any property. When I looked at this, I just felt to myself, this is not good for Barnstable. And I'm not saying these positions don't need to be filled. Certainly there's inspectional services, but the revenue generated by new real estate taxes from these projects coming online is more than sufficient to fill these roles. Now, some of the stuff with the building inspection, some of these bigger projects are actually controlled construction, so the building department does have some involvement in it, but not to the level of smaller projects. So all I'm saying is that when you look at this, maybe it needs to be vetted a little bit longer in a different way to fill these positions, but the direct tax on the tenants, because that's what it is. And I looked at this and the little guy's getting crushed, and he keeps getting crushed. And this is an indirect way to crush the little guy, because if you think you're putting it on the landlord, you're not. It's just like a tariff. You're putting it on the consumer, and the consumer is the person who lives in those tenant apartments. Thank you very much for your time. And, you guys, essentially are volunteers. So thank you very much, and happy holidays.
Same to you. Thank you. Anyone else from the public that would like to be heard? Seeing no one here, anyone online? Seeing no one, at this point I will close the public hearing and open it to council discussion. I had one question for Mr. Carter. What exactly does the inspectional services do for the fee? You talk about inspectors and that, but what is the process for a rental registration or the fee?
So the rental registration, when it first started, was to get an inspection every year. So if I could just back up for a second. So this program was first adopted in 1991, so 35 years ago. And when it came into effect, it had two housing inspectors and a part-time admin assistant. Then 2007.
Excuse me, Jeff, could you just move the mic a little bit closer to you?
And then in 2007, there was a fee increase that went from $40 to $90. That was 19 years ago. And right around that time, they changed the part-time admin to a full-time admin. That's 20 years ago. Nothing has changed in this program since 20 years ago, except for the fact that our registrations are, I can just give you a couple numbers just for context. So when the fee increased in 2007, we had 719 rental registrations for a total of 1,581 units. Today, as of last week, we had 1,663 units, registrations, and 3,585 units. So that's well more than doubled. We're running in the red drastically. And what was once an inspection that happened every year went to every 2 years. Then we kind of adjusted 5 years ago, about 5 years ago, to do 2 years and 3 years. Now with these new units coming on, we're into the 4 years, approaching 5 years to get an inspection on a property. So it's really the level of service and the fact that we're operating in the red. So that really didn't answer your question, but they get an inspection. That's what they're supposed to get. With proper staffing, that's what they would get.
Thank you. Mr. President, if I may direct that question specifically. So under Massachusetts, Commonwealth of Massachusetts regulations, we're required to do inspections of rental facilities, and those inspections are for health safety purposes. So we look at the condition of the units and make sure they meet the minimum standards of human fitness. That's the specific requirement for specific reason we have this. And as Jeff has just mentioned, that it was implemented by Town Council in 1991.
Okay. Councilor Crowe?
Jeff, can you make it simpler in that what does it cost per unit to do the inspection and what you're getting back? You're getting back $90. So what is the actual cost that you're running to on a per unit basis?
I'll let Brian answer this one. I know he did a lot of work with finance, and Gareth is here too, to get a real cost on what these services are that are provided. So.
Thank you for the question, Councilor Crowe. So we can't just raise fees. We have to have, it has to be done very specifically for, it can't be used to generate revenue. We undertook a process that involved research from the Department of Revenue. We looked at their guidelines of costing of municipal services, the Division of Labor Services, using the Mass Guide on user fees, Worcester Regional user fee study, the GFOA, the Government Finance Officers Association user fee guidelines, and the Emerson College versus Boston case law on user fees, which establishes a three-pronged test. And so finally, after doing that work there, we consulted with our finance department, and our finance department helped us come up with a baseline fee. And if I could just ask Gareth to come up, and he can walk you through what it costs us to perform this service.
Okay.
Thank you, Gareth.
Good evening, Gareth Markwell, Deputy Finance Director. Reviewing fiscal year 25's revenue and expenditures, looking at direct costs of approximately $286,000 for direct operational costs in the department, indirect costs of $121,000, so that's things like benefits for staff, pension assessments, general liability insurance, things like that. We're running with the current service level of just over $407,000 in expenses in fiscal year 25. If we look at the number of units, that goes to about $114 per unit, based on FY25's budgets.
Mr. President, just quick follow-up. I'm sorry, what was the number per unit, 114?
114 at the current service level, which is reflective of the every 4 or 5 year inspection.
So why would we raise the fee to 250 if it's 114?
Because we can't do the work that's required. We can't do the work that's required of us based on the current staffing levels. So by adding the staff, the fee will go up exponentially.
I'm still not understanding. If it's 114 per unit, why not raise the fee to say 114?
So we're currently at $114 per unit for a 4 to 5 year reevaluation of the property or a physical inspection. That is currently reflecting a $210,000 general fund subsidy for the program itself. At the moment, they're bringing in approximately $200,000 in revenue for that program alone. So again, to bring it up to full cost capture, plus an enhanced program where the properties are inspected on a regular routine, as expected, you would need to up the fee to approximately $250.
So you're saying that eventually you think it's $250 to inspect?
Yes, at the once yearly cycle.
And how many times a year do we inspect? How many times do we inspect right now?
So as Deputy Director Carter said, we used to have an annual inspection, but because of the significant increase in the units over the years, we've had to push those out. We pushed them out to every 3 years, and we're looking at pushing them out every 5 years, just because we've tripled the number of units from 1,500 to over 3,500 since the program started, and we have another 600 or so coming on board that are either permitted or in the process of being permitted.
Does state law require a certain frequency of inspections?
State law requires that rental units are fit for human habitation, and there's a list of requirements that is based on that. So, for example, a tear in a screen. Tom could probably tell you more of the inspection requirements.
Yeah. The state has minimum requirements, and the town has some additional codes.
Tom, would you just identify
I'm
yourself
sorry,
for the record?
Thomas McKean, as opposed to, don't confuse me, please. So there are minimum standards in the state sanitary code that we first look at: heat, hot water, screens, smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, working kitchen facilities, refrigerator, stove, etc. Then there are town codes that were adopted by the town council back 19 years ago that are enforced. The number of persons per bedroom, for example.
What this fee doesn't cover, Mr. President, is the code compliance stuff. We get a huge number of complaints on rental registrations, and the predominant complaint that we get is on the long-term rental registrations, where deferred maintenance or other problems cause the tenants to call us and ask us for our inspectors to come out and take a look. So it's not just, Member Keene, it's not just the cost of doing the initial registration and inspection. It's the ongoing maintenance issues that we have to address every year. And there's about 1,000 of those, 500 to 1,000 of those each year. And those have no fee generated or associated with them. So that work just gets done on the revenue that we bring in. And we don't have enough staff to do it.
Thank you. Oh, excuse me. Councilor Scheinbaum, do you have a question?
I can't hear you.
So currently, you're charging $90 a year. Your regular inspections are about once every 3 years. Is that correct, roughly?
Tom, is that correct?
I'm just trying to understand this.
We have a cycle of year-round inspection. Year-round facilities are every 2 years, and the seasonal, the short-term rentals are every 3 years. We tend to see less issues at the short-term rentals.
Okay. And then you have times when you have to go out and do an inspection because of complaints. So, but everyone is charged $90 per unit per year regardless? Is that how it works? Or I'm just trying to understand this.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and I'm a little confused about how so is the current way that you're doing that, is that adequate? So you're really looking at having more frequent inspections, and sounds like that's one of the reasons for the increase in the charge. Is that right?
The bigger issue is that we have gone from 1,500 units to closing in on 4,000 units, and we have 2 inspectors to try to do that work. That's the problem. We have, between Barnstable and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, we have put a regulatory schemes into place that allow for multifamily dwellings. So, and it's working. Like it or not, it's working. We're getting these units, and like I said, there's another 600 coming online here. That's not an exact number, but it's close to 600. And so we're trying to get 2 staff members to go out and look at over 4,000 units, and it's just, we don't have the staff. Our staff are burdened, and we can't do the work. It's hard for me as a director of inspectional services to sit before our policy-making authority and our appointing authority behind me and say, we're not doing our job. We can't do the job. It's not physically possible. So we know not to come to the policy-making body or our appointing authority with a handout saying we need money for staffing because everybody needs staffing. So we looked at our fee, we looked at it reasonably and responsibly. We used the standards that are available to us and the standards that we're supposed to use to look at our fees. We looked at the bare minimum amount of money it takes to process one of these units, and we provided that to you. But we can't do the job otherwise. So if we don't have the fee, it puts us in a position where our credibility is hurt and we can't do our work.
Thank you. Councilor Steingle?
Yeah, I just want to look at this from a different perspective. So, for Cape Cod towns, do you have a sense of what their fees are for similar services? And how does this compare?
We do. We can provide that to you, and some are higher, some are lower. But I would suggest this more than anything else. We should not be looking at the other towns and see what their fees are. And the reason for that is the way their fees are adjusted, with all due respect to our sister communities, is they pick up the phone and they call the next community over and say, hey, what are you guys charging for your fees? That's not a responsible way to look at fees and to establish a fee. We did it the responsible way. We looked at the staffing, we looked at the guidelines behind it, and we talked to our finance department and established a bare minimum baseline fee that it takes to do this work. But we could provide that detail for you. Some are more expensive,
Yeah.
some are less.
Yeah, so I mean, looking at it from maybe the perspective of a tenant, this fee amounts to about $21 a month if, in fact, all the costs are being passed on to the tenants. But it would be interesting to note from a tenant's perspective, what is the fee in a similar town, and what is the impact on their rent?
That's a good point, Councilor Strangold. It is $20 a month. That's the bottom line on a $250 fee.
Vice President Clark?
Thank you very much, President Tamish. And thank you for your presentation and for the justification. It's been a while since I've been a renter. Just to be clear, is the fee assigned to the landlord or the renter?
It goes to the property owner. What he does with that.
So it's up to the landlord. It's a choice of the landlord to pass it on to a renter.
That's correct.
It's a business decision. I understand that.
Yes.
But the fee is borne by the landlord. Thank you.
Any further discussion on my right? Any questions? Councilor Lutke?
Yeah, you had mentioned that there's town council things you're looking at too. And you'd mentioned numbers of people in bedrooms. How many times do you find that, and then what do you do with that information?
I'll defer to Tom.
That there are too many people in bedrooms.
We've had lots of issues with that problem, and we've had to address that by issuing order letters.
Have they been effective? It goes back to our parking in the neighborhoods. When we see cars ranch houses surrounded by 15 cars.
Right. And many times it's a complaint that's received. The neighbors are complaining there's too many persons, too many vehicles at the property, for example, and we have to address that and order the property owner to comply with the town ordinance, which is, for example, the ordinance that we have in place right now is 2 persons per bedroom for the first 2 bedrooms, and then 1 person per bedroom thereafter. So a 3-bedroom house would be limited to 5 persons, but that's addressed by the health division, correct?
Mr. President, if I may address Councilor Lutke?
Certainly.
Councilor Lutke, so that goes to general enforcement, right? So the process for our health division is that if we get a complaint, whether it's from a tenant or a neighbor or something along those lines, we assign an inspector. They go out and they do an investigation. And if they find that there's a violation, they would issue an order. And we would work with the property owner or the tenants to try to abate any violations that are out there. It's more and more difficult to do that now as the number of units increases in Barnstable. It's getting more and more difficult to be able to have the staff to get out there, and it boils down to what's the hottest button right now, because it's kind of like Bop-A-Mole because there's just not enough people to do the work.
Right, and I know you're complaint-driven, because you've said that many times in all of our areas in town, we're complaint-driven.
Yes, ma'am.
But it sounds like you're also under some sort of state regulation, although it doesn't sound like the state says annually. They just say, do what is required to meet the health and safety codes, right? So the annual thing is not real, right? That's not...
Correct. And the state code does specify, however, when we receive a complaint, we have to go out within 24 to 48 hours.
In most situations in life, 10% of the people cause 90% of the work. It's almost always proven. So there's bad actors and there's good actors. So the good actors are paying $250, and the bad actors are paying $250. But yet you're going out to the bad actors 20 times. So where's the equity there?
Well, I don't think it's appropriate for us to charge different fees. I think we would have a problem with that.
No, but if you're coming out repeatedly, I mean, are there penalties associated with what you're finding? I guess that's my question. If everybody's paying $250 flat fee, and you're looking for health and safety, but if you find health and safety, are we fining the people until that's remedied?
We do issue fines, yes.
Yeah. No, I have found your analysis, and I know I've gone back and forth with you, Brian, on some email, because several landlords have talked to me, and this is very reminiscent of our discussion at our last meeting, where I brought up that the commercial properties are assessed at a higher rate but paying lower taxes, and our attorneys said, well, that's just going to be passed through. But everything gets passed through. Everything gets passed through. It always goes down to the consumer, whether it's a renter or somebody at the grocery store. So I don't think that's an issue, but to me, this sounds reasonable, because again, we have so many incredibly important things we need to be doing in this town, and we have actively looked at increasing our rental properties, and you haven't increased them in many years. And this, to me, sounds reasonable to keep our residents healthy and safe in their homes, and more of those homes are apartments. And Senator Sear mentioned a program where you can get a residential exemption for our smaller landlords, and that's something I'm pushing for. So that would help offset some of this. So I think it sounds reasonable, but I just want to make sure that maybe, as the town council, we look at back and update, because it's been a few years since we created these things that you're looking at. Are they enforceable? Is it causing you more grief than it is positive impacts on your inspections?
So the rental registration program itself, Councilor Lutke, it's all enforceable because it's state law, right? We have regulations that we have to follow. If you got rid of the rental regulation program in itself, we'd have to come up with a funding mechanism to deal with the code compliance part of it, because without that, there's no ability to get enforcement when somebody calls and says there's a toilet that's backed up, or any number of the violations that we receive. You know what I'm saying? So even if you got rid of the program, you still have the problem with the complaints.
Right. Okay.
Councilor Penn?
Yes, hello, good evening. If Mr. Bornstein is upset about passing this fee on to his tenants, then he should do the responsible thing and buck up and pay for the registration fee himself, since it's his responsibility to do that as a landlord. Obviously, the town doesn't have the resources at this time to handle the current inventory of rentals on hand. And certainly, the town is understaffed to address the pending inventory units that are about to come into occupancy. It's our responsibility as a town council to provide the required resources to the staff. And therefore, I think because we waited so long unknowingly to keep the fees at a level that were productive for inspectional services, I think it just looks like it's an extreme move, but we're making up for lost time. So we do it now, we take the bite now, and then every 3-4 years, whatever it is, 5 years, we check in with inspectional services to see how they're doing, if they're keeping pace. It was a management issue, I would say, that it's been so long since this has been addressed. So it seems like it's an extreme fee increase, but it's really not. So I'm in favor of the request. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Florence, Director Florence?
Thank you, Council President. Council Penn is right on the money. If you look at the consumer price index adjusted for inflation over the years, the fee that we're proposing is exactly that. That fee that was established in 1991, if you had adjusted for inflation, would be the $250 fee. So that was a point of interest that
Thank you.
she was hit.
Councilor Crowe?
I also agree with Councilor Penn. I think this needs to be done. If we haven't kept up with inflation and with the employees needed to do these services, we should do so. My question is, and I've had it from a developer, is that could there be a bifurcation of fees? Will there be a different tier for those who provide low-income housing, for example, versus market rate housing? And maybe tier the fees to that level. You know, if it's not meeting the criteria for being a low income, then they pay the full fee, and then that'll offset the other units. Or you may have to make, you want the same amount of revenue, but you make some of these that are providing low cost housing to have some benefit of a lower fee.
Council President, yeah, if this is passed, we have no issue with talking to the legal department and our finance director and see if there's some way to do that.
Okay.
And I would also note that Manager Els has directed us to bring this back, going back to Councilor Penn's comments, bring this back annually instead of letting it slide for a number of years. So he's directed us, and that's getting put on the annual budget calendar.
Great Idea. Councilor Vivek?
Thank you, Councilor Tamish. President Tamish. Okay, so, I disagree on, and I understand the concern, but this is a town issue. This isn't a developer issue, right? This is our problem per se, and we are passing it on. I don't think a developer should be faulted because they're not willing to absorb that, no matter how much money they have in their wallet. So I don't know why that even gets brought up. But this is our issue, not the developer's issue, not the builder's issue. So right now we get $90 a unit. For a multi-unit, do we still get $90 a unit? It's discounted, correct?
It's discounted.
Correct. And what is that discount, please?
$25 a unit.
Correct. So there is a shortfall. I don't know if maybe I wasn't listening, but that really hasn't been brought up. So if we were doing $90 straight across, so now we're going to be doing $250 straight across, no matter how many units. That's where the increase comes in and the burden comes in, because it was only $90 for the first unit, $25 each additional. Now it's $250 each individual. We're raising another $695,000. And maybe I'm missing something, but how much help do you need?
We need the help that's listed in the rationale. Mm-hmm. So there's four people there. And then when you look at the resources and overhead associated with it, there's not much left over.
So 4 people cost $695,000?
You add vehicles, you add overhead, you have software, laptops, all of those things that go along with it. Yeah, it does.
And we're running at a $210,000 deficit currently.
Right, understood. But I also know that we also collect rental fees for Housing Assistance Corporation, Barnstable Housing Authority. So, and I'm not saying we don't charge them $90 across the board or whatever it might be. It needs to be some consistency there. But we don't, they carry that burden, but we still charge them. So, and with the money that we've been charging, and now granted, again, it might be underneath, we're not giving the services that we're supposed to be giving, but yet we're collecting money. I just, and I don't want it to be like a vote of no confidence, but I'm having a hard time, it just seems like every time we try to do something, the additional units will have tax revenue that will bring in the ability to pay for some of this. So I just think I think it's drastic. The $250, I think it's a big jump. And I don't think I could support it based on the numbers that are here.
Thank you. Councilor Crocker, did you have something?
I think most of what I was going to ask has been answered, but I do just have one aside, and through you to Mr. Florence. If we were to raise this to $250 per unit straight across the board, will that adequately fund other things in the inspectional services tool belt that you need to have to do things like check houses that may be overloaded with people when their bedrooms are overcrowded? Because that, in many cases, is taxing the probably outdated septic system, and then we all know what that causes. So I'm wondering if we were to do this $250 straight across the board, you would have the ability and you would have the financing to be able to take care of everything you need to take care of on an annual basis.
Thank you, Councilor Crocker. Good question. That is the goal. That is the point right now, and it's scalable in that, as you heard earlier, and I think it was Attorney Lawler that said, there's more units are coming on, and so that revenue generated coming in will increase. Some of that will go to the general fund. Some of it will be used for additional staff to be able to do those things. And I just wanted to point out, from Councilor Levesque had mentioned housing authority. Those are exempt from our fees, so that's not an issue there. Yeah.
Councilor Deleuze?
Yeah, I think it's an awful lot of money too. Could it be lowered to 150? And still get down what you can get done? Because the 250, especially if you're passing it on to consumers, is an awful lot of money and kind of unfair.
Councilor Deleuze, thank you for your question. It's $20 a month per unit. That's really what it boils down to. You are the policy-making body. You folks can do whatever you choose. You can eliminate the fee entirely. It's not up to us. It's up to you. That we're just bringing it to you to say, here's what the minimum we've looked at the standards that are there that say this is how you are to assess a fee. Here's how you come up with a fee, and you can't exceed this because these are the standards. And if you exceed that, you're doing something wrong. We've come to you. We've taken the bare minimum that we can give you to do the job. Anything less than that, we can't do the job. We already can't do the job. So if you decide that you're going to forget about the standards that we brought to your attention, forget about what the staff are telling you that we need to do this job, and say we're going to give you something less, you're going to get less for work. That's what happens. We already can't do the job.
Thank you. Councilor Scheingold?
Yeah, so, Mr. Florence, it's hard without seeing numbers to get my head around. So with the additional units, you're going to have a lot of additional revenues. And, it would seem with that, perhaps you wouldn't need as much money, as much of a fee. And so that's my question. And also, with the additional people you're going to be bringing on, are they going to be spending all of their time doing this work, or are they going to be doing some other things? Have you allocated all of their the cost of their time and benefits to this fee?
Thank you. Good question. So As the units increase exponentially, staffing needs to be increased exponentially. That hasn't been done. So that's what we're saying to you today. It hasn't been done over the years. There have been attempts by staff to do it. The staff haven't been sitting idly by and not asking for resources. They have. My predecessor in the former regulatory services said no, he wasn't going to bring that forward to the council, to the policy-making body to make those changes. But we can't ignore it on our end anymore. We know that we're not doing our job. We don't want to be criticized for not doing our job. So we're trying to let you folks. And what was the second part of your question, sir? The first part was?
He was asking the staff we fully devoted to this program, and the answer is yes, 100%.
Yeah, we have specific staff that are set aside for the rental registration program.
Yeah, I'll say I'm not sure yet how I'm going to vote on this, but I will say that in the future, at least for me, I would like to see a better justification of the costs and revenues and for setting the fees than just a narrative. But
Sure.
That's just for me. So, yeah, thank you.
Understood.
Yeah.
Vice President Clark?
Thank you, President Tamish. Hearing Councillor Lutke's perspective and her assessment of the reoccurrence of problem properties being absorbing more of your time and energy, is there a legal justification to be made should we adopt some kind of regulation where we increase the fine or fee for reoccurring problem properties, because it seems like that has absorbed a lot of your attention that doesn't get captured with the fees.
Thank you, Councilor Vice President Clark. So Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40, Section 21D is where our fee structure falls under, for our fining structure falls under, and that's capped by the legislature at $300. So each offense could be a separate offense, or each occurrence is a separate offense. So each day that it continues, it can be a separate $300. And if there are 5 counts, like 5 different violations, each one could be up to that amount. I'm trying to get another general law, and we'll talk about that down the road, not just yet. It's a Mass General Law, Chapter 40U. It allows us to have some other tools in our toolbox for assessing a lien on a piece of property. So that might prove to be more powerful and helpful to us than that. But the 21D is maxed out at, I'm sorry, Mass General 40, Section 21D is maxed out at $300.
And isn't it a fact, for want of a better term, that the courts are very hesitant to charge the maximum fees? In fact, many citations are dismissed with a "don't do it again."
Council President, your years in the police department are showing through. That's correct. We have a really hard time getting our non-criminal citations enforced in the courts.
Thank you. Councilor Crowe?
Commissioner Florence and Tom McKeon, what you're saying is that you've done the numbers internally. You've come up with this fee that would cover what your costs are, but no further. You're not allowed to do that, I understand. So this is not gaining revenue or excessive revenue. This is what, from what I understand, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
We provide services, and we cannot provide them for free. And the services you guys are providing need to be paid for. Okay, and in order to do the job correctly, you need your staff and exactly what you're asking for. So I have no problem with raising these fees to do that, to break even on what we're spending. And I also understand that he said under the regular, this fee structure under now, it's $90 and then $25 per unit if you have multiple units. What would it be? Would be under the new regime if we pass this? Would it be $250 for every unit, or $250 then a lower amount for each other unit?
Thank you for the question, Councilor Crowe. It would be $250 per unit.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilor Levesque?
I'd like to make a motion to amend the amendment to $125 per registration fee for the first and every additional thereafter.
Okay, motion's been made to amend the question to from 250 to 125. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Councilor Levesque?
My reasoning is that the cost has already been brought up, that it's $114 per unit, and a lot of these newer units are going to be clustered. So I believe that the ability to be able to, and again, I'm sorry, I'm not a building inspector, nor do I play one on television, but at the same time, I just think we should take a stepped approach to this, maybe look at it, after a number of years. I do want to give the right resources, but, I also, know that, we're asking our residents to work harder. We're asking our residents to show up, and I'm not criticizing anybody, but maybe just as a town, we just need to do more. We need to do a better job and find out where we can do a better job before we just start charging people fees and things of that nature. And this is a huge increase, and I just think that before we jump into that, when we're messing with the cost of living, that, already, at 125, we're getting $100 more on those additional units. And again, a lot of these units are very much clustered. They're brand new units. And I understand from, it depends on the resident or whoever's living there, they may abuse or use the space differently, I should say, and put more use on it. But at the same time, I just think we should be cautious about that. And thank you so much. I appreciate that. And again, with all due respect to the building department, I think these are the steps we should take.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the amendment? Councilor Penn?
Yeah, the 100 and whatever your proposal is.
It's
the
125, just in case you weren't listening.
125, I was listening. Will not cover the new units that are coming online. So you're going to be behind the 8 ball once again the minute they come online. That's absurd. You got to prepare for the future and plan it out. Do the math. You get 600 more units online, what good is that going to do? I can't support that amendment.
Thank you. Any further? Vice President Clark?
Thank you very much, President Tamish. I hear you, Councilor Levesque, and I am sensitive to the rental community. On the other hand, I'm also sensitive, and I feel an obligation to be a good custodian of our finances, and our general fund has been subsidizing the rental community. And I think that as we are careful stewards of our finances, I think that is an ill-placed, what do I want to say? Ill-placed responsibility on our general fund. So I will not support that amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
President Samish, from what I understanding is we are collecting this money, and yes, it's technically a deficit, but we haven't been providing the services.
That's not accurate.
Director Florence?
We do provide the services, Council President. We do the registrations, we do the inspections. It's on an expanded scale because we just don't have the staff to do it. And then we do the complaints. We do the work. We couldn't otherwise. You folks would hear about it every single day if we didn't.
We occasionally do.
And you occasionally do.
Yeah. Councilor Lutke?
Let's move the amendment.
Okay. Okay, the motion has been made to call the question. Call the question. So this vote will be on calling the questions, not debatable. Madam Clerk?
Councilors, Clark.
No.
Crocker.
No.
Crow.
No.
Deleuze.
Yes.
Keene.
No.
Levesque.
Yes.
Ludke.
Aren't we voting to move the question? We're not
Yes.
voting on the amendment.
Correct.
Yes.
We're voting on moving Calling the question.
Yes.
Calling the question.
Oh,
Correct.
so the amendment didn't,
No,
This is not
she's
the
seeking to end debate on
Yes.
the
This is a
amendment.
motion to call the question to force a vote on your amendment. So this is not a vote on the amendment. This is a vote to call the question on the amendment.
She's seeking to end
Stop
debate.
on the amendment.
oh,
So this, you're not
Correct.
voting on the amendment. You're voting on whether to stop talking about the amendment.
I am acting as Counselor Burdick since I'm sitting in his spot.
Okay. All right.
Okay, that was a little
so-
confusing. Can we start over the vote and do that again?
I would recommend that we will,
Redo.
just, now that we've had clarification, this is a vote to call the question. In other words, stop debate and move on to
Vote on
the amendment. All right? So this is strictly to end debate. Madam Clerk?
Counselors Clark,
Yes.
Crocker,
Yes.
Crow,
Yes.
Deleuze,
Yes.
Keen,
Yes.
Levesque.
yes.
Ludke,
Yes.
Penn,
Yes,
Scheingold,
Yes.
Tamish,
Yes.
Bloom.
Yes.
That's everybody. Yep.
Okay, the question has been moved. We are back to voting on the amendment, okay? So we're voting on the amendment to go from 250 to 125, I believe it is. Okay, is everyone clear on that? Okay, Madam Clerk?
Crocker,
No.
Crow,
No.
Deleuze,
Yes.
Keen,
No.
Levesque,
Yes.
Ludke,
No.
Penn,
no,
Scheingold,
Abstain.
Tamish,
No.
Bloom,
No.
Clark.
No.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 8 noes.
Okay, the amendment does not pass. Is there any further discussion on the main motion? Seeing none? Councilor Keene?
I will say I'm in complete sympathy with the notion that when you have a program such as this, that is directly benefiting a certain group, you really should have funds from that group to support it, as opposed to it being subsidized by other people. I actually share Councilor Levesque's real concern about the dramatic increase. And I had toyed with the notion of phasing this in, say, over, making a motion to amend to phase it in over a couple of years. But at the end of the day, we're still going to have to, I think, probably end up at $250 because it sounds to me like that's probably the right number. So I'm going to be voting in support of this.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk. Now, this vote is on the main motion, the motion which would include the $250 fee as initially proposed. Madam Clerk?
Counselors Crow,
Yes.
Deleuze,
No.
Keen,
Yes.
Levesque,
No.
Ludke,
Yes.
Penn,
yes,
Scheingold,
Abstain.
Tamish,
Yes.
Bloom,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Crocker.
Yes.
8 yes. 2 no. 1 abstain.
Thank you. The motion does pass. It is time for a quick 10 minutes.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, councilors.
Thank you, Mr. Florence, Mr. Carter, Mr. McKeon. Okay, if councilors could take their seats, please, we will resume. Okay, we have a quorum back on the dais. Councilor Scheingold, please, if you could do 2026-068 into the record, please.
Okay. All right, old business. Public hearing, roll call, 2/3, full vote of the full council. 2026-068, appropriation and loan order in the amount of $350,000 for feasibility study and schematic design for the roof replacement project at Barnstable High School.
Second.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. At this point, I will open the public hearing, and I recognize the Superintendent Ahern for the rationale.
Hello, thank you for having us tonight. I'm joined by Doug Bowlanger. He's our Director of Facilities. And we also have Chris Dwelly in the audience, who's the Deputy Director of School Finance. This is the first of two agenda items for you this evening. This one involves the roof replacement at Barnstable High School. Last February, we came to both the school committee and town council to seek and got authorization to apply for the accelerated repair program through the Massachusetts School Building Authority. The MSBA is a state agency that provides funding in the form of reimbursement to cities and towns and school districts for major repair projects or for new building projects. So you authorized to apply for 2 roofing projects, and in October, the board of the MSBA invited Barnstable to enter the program. And this would happen in 2 stages. The first stage is what you're voting on tonight, which is $350,000 for the schematic design and feasibility study for Barnstable High School's roof. There are some details in your packet related to its age. It's 28 years old. It has a lot of leaks. A lot of repairs have been done that Doug can detail if you wish. And the water that gets in certainly can create an unsafe and unfavorable environment for the students and for teachers. Also creates some indoor air quality concerns. So this first step here is to appropriate and loan order in the amount of $350,000 for the feasibility study. There was an initial vote of this in a previous capital program, but the MSBA has a very strict expectation regarding the vote language, and so this is to kind of redo that to meet MSBA's expectation.
Thank you. Okay, we are in a public hearing. Is there anyone from the public who would like to be heard on this matter? Seeing no one, Lynn, is there anyone online? Okay, thank you. At this point, I will close the public hearing. Council discussion. Any discussion on my left? Any questions on my left? Any questions on my right? Seeing none. Wow. So I guess we will go to a vote, Madam Clerk.
Councilors, Deleuze.
Yes.
Keene.
Yes.
Levesque.
Yes.
Ludke.
Yes.
Penn.
Yes.
Scheingold.
Yes.
Tamish.
Yes.
Bloom.
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
Crocker.
Yes.
Crow.
Yes.
That's unanimous.
12 yes, the motion does pass.
Thank you.
And now we will go, Councilor Deleuze, if you would do 2026-069, please.
Under old business, public hearing, and roll call, you need 2/3 of the full council to vote. 2026-069, appropriation and loan order in the amount of $350,000 for a feasibility study and schematic design for the roof replacement project at the Barnstable Intermediate School.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. At this point, I will open a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to be heard on this matter? Seeing no one. Lynn, is there anyone online? Seeing no one. I'm sorry, we didn't do the rationale on this one, did we? We jumped right into the public hearing.
It's a similar rationale. We put forward 2 projects to the MSBA, both qualified, and in October they invited Barnstable to participate for both roofing projects. The intermediate school roof is approximately the same age as the high school roof. It also has been repaired a number of times and has leaks. There are structural concerns in addition to that, and both are really costly projects. So we're fortunate to have MSBA inviting us in to engage in the feasibility and design study to see if we can partner together and get some additional financial support from the state. They tend to reimburse on the range of 30 to 40%, and we'll know more after the feasibility study is done, should you approve this.
Great, thank you. I will close the public hearing at this point. Is there anyone, on the council that would like to discuss this further?
Just congratulations for securing that grant that saved your department $700,000. Thanks.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Councilors Keene,
Yes.
Levesque,
Yes.
Ledke,
Yes.
Penn,
Yes.
Scheingold,
Yes.
Tamish,
Yes.
Bloom,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Crocker,
Yes.
Crow,
Yes.
Deleuze.
Yes.
It's 11 yes.
The motion does pass.
Great, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Appreciate it.
Let's see, Councilor Bloom, if you could read in 2026-070, please.
Yes, Mr. President. This is old business, and it may be acted upon by a majority vote of the town council. Item number 2026-070, resolve appointing Paula Hersey to the Regional District School Committee for the Cape Cod Regional Technical High School District.
Second.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. I recognize Mark Ells for the rationale.
Thank you. Good evening, Mark Ells, Town Manager. This appointment is actually a town council appointment that I spoke with President Tamish about, and given that we had prior to this, the town manager had made the recommendation and the town council ratified. He allowed me to take the 5 applicants, 3 of which interviewed, 2 of which asked to withdraw because of the time commitment, and myself and Michael White, who is, if you're not familiar with Cape Cod Regional Technical High School, Town of Barnstable, and each community that participate in the tech have 2 representatives. So our sitting representative right now is Michael White. Mike's in the back of the room, and we have a vacant seat. And so we proceeded with interviews. We interviewed 3 candidates. They were all excellent, and this was an extremely difficult recommendation. I did ask Michael as to the types of experience and qualifications that he felt would best suit, and I concurred with Michael that our recommendation of this particular individual to the committee was the best choice at this time. So I'm asking for your support on behalf of the town council to make this appointment. It isn't formally my appointment. It's yours.
Thank you.
It's a little confusing, but.
Michael, I don't know if you want to address the council at all? We'd love to hear from you.
Thank you, sir.
No problem. Hello, everybody. Man, it's been a year and a half since I've last been here when you appointed me. I don't really have much else to add. Again, we interviewed, I think, 4 of the 5 individuals. I think 2 of them dropped out. There were definitely benefits to each and every single one of them that we interviewed. Paula definitely stood out. She has connections with one of the shops that the school offers, the both IT and the design and video, DVC, design, video. I can never get that correct. It used to be called graphic design when I was a student. But she had connections to those that felt like it would really benefit both the school and the committee, and that led to the recommendation that I made.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any council discussion? Seeing none. Madam Clerk?
Hey, councilors.
Excuse me, I apologize. I did not see Councilor Penn had a
okay.
hand up. I apologize.
Thank
Councilor
you,
Penn?
President Tamish. I just want to say that Ms. Hersey is one of the most enthusiastic, genuine, and dedicated people I've ever met in my entire life, and she will do us, she will represent us in a fabulous way. So thank you for that.
Thank you for that. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk?
Councilors Levesque,
Yes.
Ludke,
Yes.
Penn,
Yes?
Scheingold,
Yes.
Tamish,
Yes.
Bloom,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Crocker,
Yes.
Crow,
Yes.
Deleuze,
Yes.
Keen.
Yes.
It's 11 yes.
The motion does pass. Thank you. Okay, moving on to new business. Vice President Clark?
Thank you, President Tamish. This is new business, which may be acted upon with a majority vote. Agenda item 2026-071, authorization to contract for and expend a fiscal year 2026 State Edward J. Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant in the amount of $33,134 from the Massachusetts Office of Grants and Research.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. I recognize Chief Gene Chalice.
Council members, Jean Chalice, Chief of Police. We are requesting permission to expend the Edward Byrne Memorial Assistance Grant in the amount of $33,134. This year, we're going to be using the funds to purchase a secure storage system, primarily for our patrol rifles and handheld radars. The kiosk system, the kiosk-style storage system provides a secure, safe place to store department property when it's not being used. It reduces the chance of unauthorized access to department assets, and it ensures greater accountability for the maintenance and care of the department property because officers are going to be signing the items out and then back in whenever they take them out on patrol. We've had water damage in that part of the building, and we've also had some security system failures with our main doors in our building, so this is an important upgrade to station security.
Thank you. Is this the area off the sergeant's watch commander's office?
Off the old sergeant's room, yes.
Thank you.
The radio room, I believe.
Radio.
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion on my left? On my right? Seeing none? Madam Clerk?
Councilors Ludke,
Yes.
Penn,
Yes?
Scheingold,
Yes.
Tamish,
Yes.
Bloom,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Crocker,
Yes.
Crow,
Yes.
Deleuze,
Yes.
Keen,
Yes.
Levesque.
Yes.
11 yes.
Thank you. While we have Chief Chalice up here, I would like to move up 2026-076, if Counselor Crow, if you could read that in.
This is an item in new business, may be acted upon by majority vote. It's item number 2026-076. Authorization to contract for and expend a fiscal year 2026 State 9/11 Department Training Grant Award in the amount of $23,980.94 from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Office of Public Safety and Security.
Second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. Chief Chalice?
The department's been awarded $23,980 from EOPS for 911 training. Specifically, the grant's going to fund 16 hours of required continuing education for our 15 telecommunicators, as well as initial training costs for newly hired civilian dispatchers.
Thank you. Any discussion? On my left? On my right? Online? Seeing none. Madam Clerk?
Counselors, Penn,
Yes.
Scheingold,
Yes.
Tamish,
Yes.
Bloom,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Crocker,
Yes.
Crow,
Yes.
Deleuze,
Yes.
Keen,
Yes.
Levesque,
Yes.
Ludke.
Yes.
That's 11 yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay, 2026-072 and 2026-077 are both for first readings for public hearings on 1/8/26. Could I have a motion, please, to move 2026 and 072, 2026-077 to individual public hearings on 1/8/26?
Second.
Yes, I can read.
Do I have the wrong one? Yeah.
Second read.
Yeah, not 7-7.
I'm sorry. I have arrows connecting them, and my arrows were going to the wrong one. Okay. Let me rephrase that. I apologize. 2026-072 and 2026-075 are both for first readings
Second read.
tonight, and they're going to a second reading on 1/8/2026. Could I have a motion to move those both to second readings on 1/8/2026?
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Madam Clerk?
Counselors, Scheingold,
Yes.
Tamish,
Yes.
Bloom,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Crocker,
Yes.
Crow,
Yes.
Deleuze,
Yes.
Keen,
Yes.
Levesque,
Yes.
Ludke,
Yes.
Penn.
Yes.
It's 11 yes.
Thank you. While we're doing those, this one I'll get right. Could I have a motion, please, to move 2026-074 and 2026-077 to individual public hearings on 1/8/26?
I so moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Madam Clerk?
Counselors, Tamish,
Yes.
Bloom,
Yes.
Yes.
Crocker,
Yes.
Crow,
Yes.
Deleuze,
Yes.
Keen,
Yes.
Levesque,
Yes.
Ludke,
Yes.
Penn,
Yes.
Scheingold.
Yes.
11 yes.
Thank you. And Councilor Keen, if you could do 2026-073, please.
Sure. This is new business that may be acted upon by a majority vote. 2026-073, authorization to contract for and expend a fiscal year 2026 Destination Development Capital Grant from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Office of Economic Development, Office of Travel and Tourism in the amount of $15,000 for Hyannis wayfinding and branding.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. I recognize Jim Cupford, Director of Planning and Development, for the rationale.
Good evening, everybody. Jim Cupford, Director of Planning and Development. The town of Barnstable was awarded a grant in the amount of $15,000 from the Commonwealth Destination Development Capital Grant Program. The grant funding is used to design and develop graphics and associated wayfinding signage to complement the Great Streets project in downtown Hyannis. This is the reimbursable grant. The town must expend the funds first and submit for reimbursement. There's a $1 to $1 match is required, and the local match will be provided through the funding sources with Great Streets project. What all that means is that as we're developing out the Great Streets program, we understand that there's going to be real need for signage for educational purposes, for safety purposes, and hopefully we have a little left over for some destination wayfinding too. So, welcome to downtown Hyannis, a vibrant new future for our main street. So as we're working towards final completion of the Great Streets project, we're actively working for other grants that we're eligible for, and this one came up and we thought it would be a great opportunity to offset some of the costs there. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any discussion? Councilor Lutke?
Yes, thank you, Jim. Just curious on the process. Are you targeting the Great Streets for all of these grants? Because I know we did pass that we get new tax revenue to devote to Hyannis from our new development. So we have that money coming in, and now this is going there. So you're just still focusing here? I just wonder what the process was. How did you vet requirements to come up with this as the best way to do this?
Are you referring to this specific grant for this specific ask?
Yeah, you said you were now looking at other grants too. So, you're just honing in on Great Streets.
Not necessarily, no. We have a number of grants all across the town that we continually look to receive funding for. I will say downtown Hyannis and the Great Street project scores very high for grants, and so we are typically awarded those grants routinely. But we are actively looking throughout. We've collaborated with DPW on other grants as well that, we'll look at it everywhere in the town of Barnstable that is eligible and can be competitive.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to know your process. You said you coordinate with DPW. Who else do you coordinate with?
We coordinate with really every department at some point throughout the year. Sorry, I can't think of all the other ones that we are actively working with. Certainly can share our grants list with the town council if you'd like. Our grants coordinator does a fantastic job of trying to wrangle as many opportunities that are out there so that we're not spending our local tax dollars. So happy to share that.
No, it's fantastic. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk?
Councilors Bloom,
Yes.
Yes.
Crocker,
Yes.
Crow,
Yes.
Deleuze,
Yes.
Keene,
Yes.
Levesque,
Yes.
Ludke,
Yes.
Penn,
Yes.
Scheingold,
Yes.
Tamish.
Yes.
It's 11 yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, one last item. We're required in the month of December to adopt a calendar for the next calendar year. I think you've all been provided a copy of that calendar. We've tried to avoid all the major holidays and come up with one that does not have 2 meetings in a row, which is extremely difficult for staff and legal postings and that sort of thing. So we present this for your consideration. I know it probably not everyone will be able to make every meeting, but I trust you'll do your best. So could I have a motion, please, to accept the calendar as printed?
I move. Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to adopt the calendar as printed. Madam Clerk?
Counselors Clark,
Yes.
Crocker,
Yes.
Crow,
Yes.
Deleuze,
Yes.
Keene,
Yes.
Levesque,
Yes.
Ludke,
Yes.
Penn,
Yes.
Scheingold,
Yes.
Tamish,
Yes.
and Bloom.
Yes.
11 yes.
Motion does pass. The calendar has been adopted. And lastly, do I have a motion to adjourn? So moved. Motion's been made and seconded. Madam Clerk?
Counselors Crocker,
Yes.
Crow,
Yes.
Deleuze,
Yes.
Keene,
Yes.
Levesque,
Yes.
Ludke,
Yes.
Penn,
Yes.
Scheingold,
Yes.
Tamish,
Yes.
Bloom,
Yes.
and Clark.
Yes.
Thank you. 11 yes.
We are adjourned. Thank you all.